Welcome back to the podcast. Excuse me, I'm typing out an email. Yes, welcome back. How's everyone doing today, this evening, this afternoon, whenever you're watching this? Please be sure to like the video if you have tuned in. Hi, Mary. May you ask a question? Well, we're currently waiting on a special guest tonight that's going to be talking about the topic of xenophobia and his experiences with, his exposure to it. Our special guest, Jamie. That's what he goes by here on YouTube. So, yeah, we can accept questions in the meantime. Now, mind you, once he gets up here and once he does tune in, I'm going to be turning off the comments. And that's because I don't want me or him to be distracted by any comments that come in the live chat. We want to stick to the focus and the topic at hand tonight. But the comments will be re-enabled after the live stream ends. So let me repeat that again for the ones of you that did not get that. Once the special guest gets up here, I'm going to be turning off the comments. The comments will be turned back on once the video ends. So, or whenever Jamie chooses to hop off panel. Either one. And then maybe we'll be accepting questions. But go ahead and type your question, Mary. If you have a question for me, type your question in the live chat. That way we get to it. And if you don't want to, then that's okay too. I'm going to be stepping away from the camera momentarily, this computer camera. Stay tuned. Thank you once again for tuning into Bandits Podcast. Like the video. Did you like the video? Please like the video if you already haven't. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. Be sure to check yourself in by liking the video. If you are not familiar with how YouTube works, there is 2 buttons on the right side bottom of the video that you can hit. That is like or dislike. So check yourself in by hitting either one. I do not care. The live stream will begin momentarily. Thank you for tuning in to Ask Bandit. By the way, if you have something to bring to tonight's commentary after the interview ends, you can always call in 502-509-7336. Stay tuned. Hey, Bubba. Hey, Bubba. Ouch. If you are looking for my commentary or if you want my advice or insight on something, for the ones of you watching on Twitter, you can use the hashtag AskBandit on Twitter. Again, that is hashtag AskBandit on Twitter. Thank you for tuning in. Your patience is appreciated. As a disclaimer, anything discussed on this network is simply Bandit's opinions and viewpoints. It does fall under the copyright disclaimer section 107 of Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarships, education, and research. Simply Bandits, viewpoints, and opinions. If you have something to provide to today's commentary, and if you want to have your voice be heard, you can always call in. The phone lines are open. 502-509-7336. Let your voice be heard. If you choose to come up on panel, there is a link in the chat for anybody that wants to join me up here on panel. You don't have to show your face. You don't have to turn on your camera. Do not porn bomb. Do not come up here with buffoonery because you will be booted. But if you have something to bring to the topics and subjects being talked about today, call in 502-509-7336 or join on panel. Once again, thank you for tuning in to Bandits Podcast. Yeah, like that pre-recording said, thank you for tuning in to Bandits Podcast tonight. If you have commentary you want to bring to whatever is being talked about, the topic at hand tonight, you can call in 502-509-7336. Hello, Jamie. Yeah, if you have a question, go ahead and drop it in the chat. Go ahead and drop it in the chat.
Purchase your tracks today. Purchase your tracks today.
back to the podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to like the video if you have tuned in, dislike the video. The stream will begin momentarily. Your patience is appreciated. If you have insight or you want my advice on a certain topic or discussion, you can always use the hashtag AskBandit on Twitter. Again, that is hashtag AskBandit on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter at Bandit3X. If you have a topic or a case that you want discussed on this network, email serathicpathways@yahoo.com. Again, that is serathicpathways@yahoo.com. Keep in mind that anything discussed on this network is simply Bandit's opinions and viewpoints. All things fall under the copyright disclaimer section 107 of Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarships, education, and research. Thank you for tuning in. The live stream will begin momentarily. Did you like the video? Like the video if you already have not liked the video or disliked the video. Let's get started with the show, everybody. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Arrivederci. Okay, hello, good evening, everybody that is tuned in. Welcome back to Ask Bandit. Tonight we have a special guest, and they will be we're going to be talking about the subject of xenophobia, and they'll be sharing their personal experiences of what they have went through in their life, their encounters, their exposure. The special guest tonight is Mr. Jamie. He'll be coming up here pretty soon to just talk. And we hope that anyone that is watching this, if you ever feel like a black sheep of your family, or if you ever feel ostracized, one thing that you can take from this video is that you can overcome this. And we hope that you get inspired by Jamie's story. Another thing that I would like to mention, excuse the dryer that went off in the background because I'm doing laundry. The comments will be temporarily disenabled, turned off during the portion of the interview. And that's because we want to stick to the topic. I don't want to be distracted by what is going on in the comments section, and I don't want Jamie to be distracted too. But they will be turned back on after he leaves panel, after he hops off, the comments will be turned back on. So if you're tuning in to ask Bandit a question, you can still use the hashtag AskBandit on Twitter. You can also continue to drop your questions in the live chat, because after that interview, we can cover them either in this live stream or the next one that I'll be starting after this one later tonight. So once again, Jamie, you are welcome to come up whenever you choose to, and we can proceed. Now, I did speak briefly on the topic of xenophobia. Some of you may not be familiar with what that term is. What exactly is xenophobia? Xenophobia, it's easy to get it confused with being racist. It's two different things, but they're intertwined. I want to give you a little bit of backstory on xenophobia. That way you guys understand the concept of what we're circling tonight. So according to the dictionary of a simple Google search, xenophobia, the dislike or prejudice against people from other countries or nationalities. According to Webster Dictionary, the meaning of xenophobia is the fear or hatred. Notice how it says fear. Now, ignorance is bliss. And whenever I say ignorant, I don't mean people are stupid. I mean that they're not educated on a certain, topic. It doesn't mean that someone is stupid. It means that they were ignorant. The reason why I'm saying that is because it says fear or hatred of strangers or foreigners, or of anything that is strange or foreign. And this is interesting right here. This is coming from websterdictionary.com. Okay, Jamie, I see you in the back. I'm going to be bringing you up pretty soon. I just want to cover this definition and we can hop into this. So, Webster Dictionary, did you know, if you look back at the ancient Greek term that underlines the word xenophobia, you'll discover that xenophobic individuals are literally stranger fearing. The fearing of strangers. Xenophobia, the elegant sounding name for an averse a person's unfamiliar, ultimately differs from the two Greek terms xenos, which can also be as either stranger or guest, or phobia, which means fear or flight. So now that you guys have a better understanding of what xenophobia is, let's bring up Jamie and see what they have to say, and make sure that my YouTube is turned off and my screen share. Okay. Hello.
Hey
Hello.
there, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Great.
Let me. Sorry, there was that was going on.
What happened?
There was an echo.
Oh, on whose side? Yours or mine?
It's not on mine. It's mine. So I don't know what's going on. Let me close out. I'm gonna be muted.
Okay. me grab my gum real quick.
You? Yeah, they're still in there.
Really?
Yeah, I'm hearing it from something that's coming from my end. Can I try bringing you back up and seeing if it fixes it?
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna drop you down and then just come right back up.
Okay.
I'm sorry about that. The technical difficulties. Let's see if we can do it this way. Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Let me know if it's still echoing. Okay, let's see if it fixes it.
Is it fixed?
If it fixes it. Yeah, I sound good.
Great.
Fixed? If it fixes it. Yeah, I sound good.
Great.
Okay. I'm glad that we got that fixed.
Audio always seems to have that effect, right? It's always something.
Yeah, StreamYard doesn't. They like to mess with us sometimes.
Aye.
Plus, I'm not used to having people up on my, channel as much, so I'm getting used to it. But we're working out the bugs.
Oh, okay. You feel like you're doing great so far.
Well, I try to. I have to give myself more credit than what I do.
True.
So, Jamie, what did you want to talk about and share with us tonight?
Actually, I have one quick question, but this might actually kind of springboard off our last conversation. I think I remember emailing you. I think I wrote I had attachments of my family tree.
Let's see if
Did I ever write you that?
I don't think so. I received the pictures, but I didn't receive the family tree though.
Okay,
Let me
because I
double check
think
and see.
because that might be a good place to start, though.
The family tree. Okay, yes, right here. Is it
Mm-hmm.
my dad right here? And then Augustus, the family tree. Okay,
I sent
yeah.
my I think I sent my great grandmother's Wikipedia article, and I think I circled her face.
Yeah,
From
that's what
what
I'm
I
looking at right
vaguely
now.
remember. Great. Okay, I did send it because I almost forgot. But yeah,
So let me see if
that,
I can send that to myself. Did you want me to pull that up on the screen?
if you want to.
Yeah, that's fine. I can. I was
Great.
just wanting to make sure if that was okay
Hmm.
with you.
And it's actually kind of interesting. People say I look like her too. A lot of people I know, and even strangers say, like, you look just like your great grandma. I'm like, really? They say like my jaw is the same, like the same shape as hers. My forehead and my nose are the same. It's really interesting.
Just bear with me 1 second, guys. I'll have to
Mm.
download the file and then have to email it to myself. But Jamie, if you want to, just go ahead and you know have the floor.
Actually, for one quick second, I'm gonna actually show my face on camera just so that you can see that I'm not a crazy catfish or something.
No, that's
In case you
fine.
want to make comparisons.
Yeah, that's
This is
whatever.
me.
Alrighty. Yeah,
Mhm.
see, I've already seen him in pictures. So, guys,
That's right. I did send you those pictures,
yes, you did.
and I think I sent one with me and my dad, didn't I?
Yeah, you did of your dad holding you
Yeah,
as a baby.
yeah. Hmm. That's right. That's right.
Let's see.
So, because people say like I look like my great grandma, we have the same kind of facial features, we're very similar. So it's really interesting. But this is bad lighting, but I think you can kind of see, right?
Uh, okay, the first one I'm pulling up is the one that I've circled with Augustus Funeral Home.
Oh, that's my grandfather's obituary. Hmm. The picture of my grandfather at the top.
Okay, that's
Hmm. Actually, I should have told you this before. Make sure you kind of crop out the bottom half with the names and stuff because I've been warned about, exposing public info from said country because, family back home, they don't play with that stuff. So, but the top part
gotcha.
is fine. It's just the bottom part.
So from where it says Tuesday, October 12th, and it lists all those names.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. Because child, a lot of them were my uncles, aunties. Actually my dad's name is like way at the bottom or something, like halfway to the bottom. I think actually no, my sister would have been in there, but I think they because my grandpa was a great great grandfather when he died, so they had to kind of summarize the great grandkids and the grandkids and whoo, child. And and but actually, this could kind of go along with what me and you talked about in the interview before this. So hopefully, it'll kind of be like a part two, I guess you could say. Because I don't know if you remember, but the one where I was talking about, my dad and my grandfather. Actually, my grandfather's the one you're pulling up in the obituary.
Yeah,
My
the
dad, my
last time you
grandpa,
spoke
and that
about
whole thing. Hmm. This will all
yeah,
kind of make sense with that.
about the information about the issues you had with who was it again?
Oh, with my sisters and
And your dad's
that
wife.
whole the generational stuff. Yeah, from our last conversation.
So did you want me to? Is it okay if I say the country, or does that need to be disclosed?
Mm, you know what? The more I thought about it, why not? Only because Jamie M is not my real name, so I'm fine with that.
Okay. Well, so let me get on to these questions. I'm still trying to get these photos uploaded on my computer, but I
Okay.
tried to open it up and I tried to crop it out, but my computer is not wanting to load the document for me to crop it out. But one of the first questions
Really?
I wanted to ask you was, can you tell us more about your mother's side of the family and your American upbringing?
It was very interesting because, and I've actually interviewed my mom about, like how my parents met and all of that. So the reason why I wanted to kind of piggyback off of our last conversation was because, um, did I think I did tell you that 1987 was actually the year my mom's dad passed away, and it was the year that my parents met.
Yeah, that's a weird synchronistic,
And
isn't it?
then also, 87 was when my great grandma died on my dad's side.
So three major events
And
within 1 year.
and she's the one that I sent you the Wikipedia article about. She's the person. Hmm.
So this is the look at that again.
And I believe the picture I sent you is that kind of sepia tone
Let me
of her.
try
I
this.
think it's from 19
19
something.
1922.
Yeah, that's her.
And Keene was commissioned by the CPR to photograph the Rockies from 1914 to 1915.
Yes, she was.
And then in 1920, she opened a studio in Toronto and relocated to Oakville in 1922.
Mm-hmm.
Despite innovating, and I can't see that because it's kind of cut off, the photography, female photographs were not taken as seriously as their male counterparts.
That is true.
Can you tell us why?
In her generation, because actually my great great grandmother Mina actually mentored her a great deal. So I'm going to kind of briefly summarize her side of the family, right? My great great grandma, her name was her nickname was Mina, and her last name was Bergman. So when she was born, she was the oldest of 14 children. Now, this is 1859
Oh, wow.
we're talking about. Yeah, this is like 1859 we're talking about. This is what, 60 odd years
Yeah, like when
before
they
the
had a
First
lot of
World
children.
War.
When they had a lot of children,
Oh yeah.
like large numbers of families.
Yep. And those are the days when immigrants used to travel in families, and it was a whole thing. But on her side, it was interesting because when she was brought up, she was the oldest of all the kids. And her dad's second wife was her mom. Between his last two, because he was only married 3 times, but between his last 3 marriages, well, excuse me, not last 3, between the last 2 marriages of the 3, where came all the kids, right? So long story short, Mina was born 1859, right? And she was raised Catholic. Now, her mom passed in, 1874? Yeah, 1874. And it's funny. It's actually, this is kind of interesting. When I tried to edit that Wikipedia article I sent you, my profile almost got banned because they thought I was some imposter.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
They
I
thought they
was
were trying to
serious.
change, alter some shit. Like,
Huh?
they thought that you were trying to change and alter some shit.
Well, I think they thought I was some stranger because you know how on Wikipedia, even like when I was a kid, we used to use Wikipedia when I was in school.
I've never used
You know,
I never wrote anything on Wikipedia, but I
well,
used
when I was in
Wikipedia
school,
for
our
research.
teachers used to warn us, like, don't use Wikipedia, and we used to
Yeah,
get in a
that's
lot
what
of
they told
trouble.
us.
Like, yeah, I come from that era where, we had, I think during my era, they had something, what was it called? Simple Wikipedia, I think it's called now. Where it's
Maybe.
like it's basically Wikipedia for like educators, where that's the version that they allow their students to use and stuff to do research and stuff. But anyway, so from all the kids, right? So Mina is the oldest, and I don't know a lot about the rest of the siblings. I just know that in 1874, my great grandmother, her mother died. And it's interesting because it took a long time for Wikipedia to find out her government name, which they probably only found out because I edit her tree on Family Search. So when I was doing my genealogy and stuff, I actually was able to find out her real name from German records. So as I'm finding it out, I'm sitting here trying to edit everything, keep everything together, and keep all my information streamlined so I don't forget anything. And that was around when I first discovered who she was, because mind you, I was 21 when I started tracing my tree, and I'm 26 now. I'm gonna be 27 in August. So for 21 years of my life, I had no idea who was what. And imagine stumbling on that my grandpa, the one you saw in the obituary, I'll say Violet is his mother.
So let's talk about Violet Keene.
Yep.
So she
Violet
was
Keene FRS, mind you. the titles.
Do what now?
Oh, I said Violet Keene FRS. The titles.
Oh yeah. So she was born in 1893 and she passed in 1987. And she was English born and she was the photographer. And let's see. The personal life. So in 1893, Violet Keene was born in Bath, Somerset, England, to a photographer. And forgive me if I'm not pronouncing this name right, but Mina Keene.
Yep.
The family later moved to Canada, residing in Montreal and then Toronto. Keene married Arnold Agard Piernechev. Am I pronouncing that right?
Sorry, I'm going to interject for a minute.
No, you're good.
Bermudian names are hard to pronounce. It's Harold Edgar Parentchief.
Harold Egner Parentchief. But she kept her maiden name, and she passed away in Oakville, Ontario on May 10th, 1987. So that's what you were talking about.
Yep. And what's interesting, too, is that I think I tried to put pictures up on her Wikipedia profile, and I don't think either they allowed me to or I couldn't find the right ones. That's Mina. Yep, that's Mina.
I'm going to try to do it this way because these pictures aren't coming through, so we're kind of bootlegging.
And I went on Google and found all of them, and I sent them right to you, so I don't know why they're not showing up. Yep, that's Violet, from what I know. Yeah, that's Violet.
Yeah, these are beautiful pictures. Very... That's Violet. Wow. Is she holding pomegranates? Is that what that is?
Yeah, and it's interesting you said that because Mina actually titled it Pomegranates, that picture. That's the title of the picture.
Wow.
And actually, from what I read, that picture got Mina her first photography award, if I'm not mistaken. Because I think Violet was 17 in that picture. So I think she won some sort of English photographic award for that picture. And then basically 9 years went by and she met my great granddaddy and things got interesting from there. But actually, I don't think I sent you that newspaper clipping I had, but It was the one. Actually, oh, I mentioned it on our last conversation. I didn't send it to you. I mentioned it last time. It was the one where I talked about how basically Violet was his mistress. I'll put it like that.
Yes, I do remember you mentioning that. Violet was his mistress.
It's true.
Can you tell us? Go ahead.
What do you say?
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. It was the newspaper article I found, and it basically talked about that my great grandfather's first wife, because she was English also, but she moved to New York when she was a baby, and she basically lived there until her old age, because she moved back to England, I think, when she was 50, I believe. So for the last 30 years of her life, she moved back to England. And it's interesting because her second husband, after she divorced my great grandpa, her second husband worked for the Department of the Defense, I believe. His name is Charles, I think Charles Edward Spaulding. I know it's Charles E. Spaulding, but I forget the E. But yeah, so that was pretty interesting to find out. And I had, mind you, before 5 years ago, I had no idea who they were at all, you know. But it's interesting. Yeah, but Edgar, well, my grandfather's Harold Jr., but, in Bermuda, everybody has nicknames, and they go by their middle name. So he's, my grandfather's Harold Jr., pretty much.
Now, Jamie, can you tell me again, how did your parents meet?
That is actually an interesting story. My parents met because my mom was a student at Rutgers University. I don't know if,
Hey, I'm going to cut you off. I'm going to cut you off just for 1 second. I'm going to step away from the camera and get tea, and then I'll be right back. But just continue talking.
Okay, get your tea.
All right.
So in 1982, actually, which I'm going to lead to 87, but in the spring of 1982, my mom was a student at, if any of you live in New Jersey, there's a college here called Centenary University. And actually, that's the school Debbie Harry from the group Blondie, she went there when she was a student, and she graduated there. My mom went there, and actually, it's funny because a couple weeks ago, my mom, because we were watching a video on Quincy Jones, and the girl on YouTube, Ashley Says So, she mentioned, in 1967, Quincy gave birth to daughter Rachel, and my mom screamed from across the room, "Oh my God, that's Rachel!" And I was like, "What do you mean?" Because she was telling me that it's actually her, it's actually her, because my mom went to college with Quincy Jones's daughter Rachel, and she was saying how none of us believed her until she started showing us pictures, and it was a whole thing. But that's funny that I mentioned this, but anyway.
I'm back anyway.
So okay. 82 rolls around, and my mom's roommate, her name was Lisa Tercera, and she's Bermudian, Lisa. And my mom was telling me in Bermuda, Lisa and her family owned a gas station. At that time, he said it was called Tercera Gas, Tercera Petrol, something like that. And I believe now, because I did some research.
So was she working at a gas station?
Not my mom. Lisa was, because Lisa and my mom were college roommates. She was over here for college.
Oh, okay.
But I believe in Bermuda, Lisa's family, they owned the gas station. One of the gas stations over there I think it was called Tercera Gas or Tercera's, something like that. My mom was telling me. At the time, she said it was called Tercera. I think now it's like an Esso station or something. I think Esso Petrol owns it now, something like that. But yeah, and that's another thing. In the UK, they call gasoline petrol. So for people who might not know. But anyway, so Lisa came to Jersey from Bermuda for college in 81, like my mom did. And then in 82, Lisa married somebody, child. My mom never told me who it was, but um, that was why my mom flew to Bermuda for Lisa's wedding. And that was in the spring of 82. And my dad was at Lisa's wedding because I guess he was just a spectator.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, and I don't know because she said I don't think they spoke for a while or like really a long time, but I guess it was the kind of thing where you know you kind of eye somebody like you examine them like do a once over.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
It was one of those things.
Like you have to give them a second look, like.
Yeah. And keep in mind, in 82, my dad was 27. Because my mom also said at that time he worked at this place called Randy's in Southampton. And actually, it's funny, as I'm talking to you, I can hear my dad's accent jumping out. Southampton, you know, his Bermuda accent just jumping out. It's funny. But, yeah, so my dad's life is actually very interesting too, but I think I briefly mentioned a little bit of it before in our last conversation, but
Can you tell me
yeah,
more
so
about it again?
oh well I'm gonna fast forward to my parents how they met, right?
Okay.
So they met at Lisa's wedding. Fast forward 5 years to 1987. And then of course, like you said, you know, those three kind of pivotal events happened all the same year, right? And I want to just preface this because somebody had asked me when I mentioned that Violet's my great grandmother, right? Somebody had asked me like on Facebook or somehow they were saying, "Oh, do you think that you know maybe your mom was jealous of your great grandma?" And that's actually not true at all because they never met. They never met at all. So it is a little interesting now, kind of looking back, just trying to figure everything out. But yeah, so in 87, they met again. My parents met again. Because my mom, the way my mom used to explain it was, after that, my dad used to constantly fly back and forth between, wow. Do you want to say it or I'll say it?
Bermuda
Yep.
Island.
Yep.
Bermuda Island.
So my dad, after they first met, my dad used to fly back and forth between Bermuda and the States. So anytime he was there, he'd call my mom. My mom would be the first person he'd call, and because she told me he would always say, "Hey, do you remember that guy from Bermuda with the funny accent?" And she'd say, "Yeah, I vaguely," because she said she put it to the back of her mind, right? It was one of those things where she kind of remembered but kind of didn't. So that from that point, like every 3-4 months, he would fly back and forth between Bermuda and the States. So that was basically the start of them dating pretty much. It was kind of like an unorthodox way, but that was really how they first got to know each other.
So it was kind of initiated by her going to Bermuda for her
Yeah.
friend's wedding.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
And it's like the most unorthodox story in the world, you know. It's not your normal meeting, I guess.
No, it's crazy how certain people meet, when love begins.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because now I don't think my mom knows this, but I think her favorite reference is Bermuda in those days because the last time she went to Bermuda was 93, she said. So she hasn't been to Bermuda in 30 years. But she said that when she used to go, she said that cars were not allowed on the island because the island is so small. It's only like 20 square miles or something like that.
Sorry about
So
that.
she said, well, no.
I flashed something on the screen. I was trying to change the background. You're good.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so when in the 80s, I don't know about now, but in the 80s, cars were not allowed in Bermuda. And from what my dad used to tell me, any cars that were allowed, they were all imported cars, like Hyundais, Nissans, Toyotas, things like that, right? Cars like that.
But no American vehicles, no American vehicles like Ford.
Not that I know of. No, not that I know of.
Oh,
And actually, when you mentioned that, I started to think maybe that's why Dad used to always mention that he used to love like American muscle cars. That could be it, though. It's starting to make sense, but
it could be.
yeah, maybe. So, okay, so yeah, in her day, cars were not allowed in Bermuda, and everyone had to drive mopeds. I don't know if anybody knows this, but there were
Oh, I know.
back in those days, there were the little moped bikes, like the 1-2-seater you hop on, kind of like in those
Yeah,
movies like
people
Dirty
drive them down
Dancing.
here in Florida all the time. You see people in the little trailer parks. They have, instead of driving cars, they drive golf carts and mopeds, little
Yep,
scooters.
yep. And just think that 40 years ago, cars were not even allowed in Bermuda, and now I'm seeing like documentaries about Bermuda, and now everybody has cars over there. So it's pretty interesting. But actually, it's interesting too because I mentioned this in part one, but even about my ancestry, Michael Douglas is actually, come to find out, a distant cousin of mine.
Michael
Pretty,
Douglas.
yep, the actor, because I believe his mother or his maternal grandmother is Bermudian. Because if you look at his mother or his grandmother on his mom's side, one of their last names is Dill, because Dill is a Bermudian last name.
You said his
And
mother.
yeah, either his mom or his maternal grandmother, either one of them is Bermudian. It's been a while since I've looked into his background, but I know one of his parents is Bermudian. But I don't think it's Michael. It's not Michael. I know that, so it's got to be his mom. It's got to be his mom. But yeah, so okay. So let me see. Yeah. So okay, she used to my dad used to fly back and forth to the States, right? And that happened for probably the next 4 years or so. Fast forward to 1991, which is actually the time my mom said that they started dating. Now, I don't know all that like specifically happened around that point. My mom was very vague when she explained it to me. All she said was that, when I was in Bermuda, he was here, and when I was here, he was there, and they just fly back and forth to each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they did that until around 90. Well, actually, until 94, right? Because my parents got married in January of 94. And it was interesting too because my mom, because when they first started dating, my mom had lived in my grandma's house, her mom's house. And when my grandfather passed, my grandma decided, okay, if something happens to me, I want you to have the house. And she signed everything over and did the whole process, right? And my mom, because my mom was the baby of the family. So my mom was the last one who was with my grandma all the time. So that was also why. Yeah, that was also why. So in 91, not only did my mom have a full mortgage on my grandma's house, and my grandma and her were living together still, but then, she also has had her apartment in Asbury Park. If any of your viewers know New Jersey very well, they probably know Asbury. It's a very famous seaside town. I'm actually from Neptune, like the next town over from Asbury. I'm actually from there. And I still go back there occasionally. So maybe in case your viewers have been to Jersey, they've probably seen me before. If they've been to the area, they might have probably seen me before. But Yeah, so my mom actually lived in Asbury for 5 years. Actually, excuse me, 6 years. Because yeah, they got married in '94. Daddy came over to the States in '95, and then I was born '96. Yeah. So yeah, they lived over in Asbury for 6 years, and then in '97 they came. They packed up everything, and then we moved back with my grandma. And apparently, according to my mom, that was because my dad didn't have a job, and she because and this is what she said when I interviewed her, my mom, that she told me that she used to like they'd have long conversations with each other, and my mom would tell him like, you got to get your act together, you got to get your act together, you got to get your act together, get a job, get a job, get a job, and he, her now this is her answer to me. Now, I don't know if my mom lied or not, but this is just her answer to me is that she told me that he would always tell her, oh, our love will save our love will fix our problems, and fate brought us together. And she said she used to always say it to her, fate brought us together, and love will fix our problems. So now I don't know if she's lying because my mom is a pathological liar, but woo, but
So,
yeah.
yeah, it's interesting that you bring up that topic because the next question I was going to ask you was,
hmm
do you know the relationship dynamic? What was it like between your mother and father?
It was interesting. It was very multi-layered. It was not the sort of thing where, because even when I was young, I didn't get it. Because when I was a kid, and like I told you in our last conversation, I don't know if is it still up on YouTube? Do you know?
Yeah, it's still up on YouTube. It's still up on my channel.
Oh, okay. Because I tried to find it this morning, and I couldn't find it.
I have a lot of
So
live streams. It may be hard. For
I
some
know.
reason, YouTube is not letting me, yeah, for some reason, YouTube's not letting me create my playlist, and it's something I'm gonna have to take up with them. But yeah, it's
Really?
still up. Yeah, it's not
Interesting.
letting me create my playlist. I used to be able to create playlists, but for the past month, it's not letting me do that. So I don't know.
Wow.
But yeah, back to the question. I'm gonna be muting my mic because I don't want the dog to be barking in the background while you're talking.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah. So I didn't get it. I didn't get their dynamic when I was a kid, right? It was only as I got older I started to understand it. But I'm going to illustrate how I understood their dynamic as when I was a kid and then as an adult, right? When I was a kid, my mom used to, and her whole family, they used to always tell me, "Don't ever be like your father. Don't ever be like your father. Don't ever be like your father." And that was basically, and when you're a kid, your parents say something to you, and it just kind of goes in one ear. I thought, yeah, 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 don't be like my dad.
Yeah, you hear what you want to hear.
Yeah, but as I got older, I started to remember my sisters and how they'd say certain things, and I'm like, was was my mom right about that? Was she lying about this? And even as I got older, my mom now this is the truth. This is the truth because this is I live with my mom, so and my mom has lied on me several times, but it is the truth. Is that when I got older, I later realized my mom had Munchausen syndrome, and I was actually her victim in the whole
Now, what
thing.
what exactly is that? What? How do you pronounce that?
Oh, Munchausen's syndrome.
Yes. What is that?
Actually, it's funny where we brought up the whole Germany aspect of my great great grandma because it's a German word. But yeah, it's actually I think in German it's Munchausen. I think my German's rusty, but I think it's
Wichhausen
Munchausen.
syndrome.
Yeah, but of course, in America, Munchausen's much. So yeah, but yeah, my mom had Munchausen syndrome. Actually, by proxy, excuse me, is the full term Munchausen syndrome by proxy. And basically, it's a syndrome where typically a mom, most of the people who have it are moms. Typically, a mother will um, gaslight doctors into thinking their child has disorders or mental illnesses, which was in my case, or even I think physical health symptoms I've heard sometimes parents do. And they will gaslight doctors into thinking that the child has those things. But in reality, the child knows they don't have those things.
So what makes a person, I guess, motivate them to do something like that? I mean,
I don't know for
scary.
all Munchie parents. I don't know, but I know for my mom's case, I'm going to kind of backtrack. On one of our conversations I had with you, I think 2 conversations ago, before the one about my dad's side, I think the one before that one, I remember telling you about how my mom was actually molested when she was a teenager. Now, my mom will be 60 years old this year, and
Oh,
I'll be
Jamie. Hey, Jamie, can I cut you off just for 1 second? I don't mean
okay.
to. Can instead of using that word, can you say "im"? Just because I don't want to get this video
Yeah,
demonetized.
yeah, yeah.
Certainly,
YouTube. I
on
totally slipped
YouTube.
my mind. Yeah, YouTube is
Yeah,
terrible.
it's
Yeah.
it's foolishness, but
And even I feel sometimes like my grandma's old school spirit, like don't curse, but cover your ears. She used to always say, "Cover your ears."
I have
So
nothing against cursing. I
so
do it all the time, but yeah.
right. But you know, I still because like I said, I'm the rebellious one. I used to curse. I used to cut up. So sometimes I have to remind myself, like, do you know who you're in front of? Watch your lane, because
Very,
sometimes it just comes over me, and then my family starts lecturing me. You were cursing in front of such and such. Why you cursed? Da, 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 da." So I'm like, oh, sorry, because we were raised Christians, the whole thing. So anyway, but
yeah, I
that's a
was
whole other story about my mom's upbringing in Florida and Georgia, and then how we used to go back and forth. But anyhow, I won't bore you with that.
uh, the relationship dynamic between your parents. That's what we were talking about. You said that
Yeah,
from an early age, your mother, they tried to convince you that your dad was a bad person, like painting
yeah.
him out to be a bad
But
person.
actually, I want to kind of bring those 2 topics together we just talked about because they go together.
Okay, all right.
Part of the reason why I said that is because my mom had Munchausen's, and I had no idea at the time because I was a kid.
Yes, of course, it's understandable.
And because actually, I remember my mom saying, because she used to always tell me, when you were first born, they thought you were going to have asthma, and what was it? She used to go down a whole list of symptoms. She said they thought you were gonna have asthma and what was it? So like this whole other there are like 30 other things she thought that the doctors thought I would have, and it turns out I never had them. And actually, as I'm sitting there talking to you, I started to realize maybe it's because she's a munchie and she didn't realize that I wasn't gonna have them because she's a munchie. You know,
When did you find out that those symptoms were non-existent?
actually, I never questioned it until talking to you right now. That's the very first time I've ever questioned it.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Because it was funny. Because as we're talking, I'm like certain memories are kind of drifting out in my head again
No,
as
you're
we're
good.
talking to you.
Just
So
yeah, just let it come out, let it
yeah,
flow out.
yeah,
No one's gonna say anything. You're free to
right,
talk, say whatever you
yeah,
need to.
yeah. And it's interesting too because now in my case, I think I have a unique case when it comes to my mom being a munchie parent. Most cases of children of Munchausen parents, they typically will have some sort of mental illness because of the parent gaslighting their doctors in childhood, and then it'll sometimes continue into their adulthood, right? For me specifically, it was more like my physical health. So actually, I'll give you a few examples. I actually have psoriasis because of the Munchausen. So let me see, I have psoriasis. Let me think. I have a like a rare eye disorder. I think it's called. I keep forgetting the exact name. I think it's called. Is it called reticent erosion syndrome?
Uh, oh
I
wait,
think
I've
it's
heard of that
RES.
term before. It's called Stargardt syndrome or something.
Oh,
Stargate
that's not it.
syndrome.
That's not it.
Oh,
It's something. It's like I think the abbreviation is RES. I think it's is it recurrent erosion syndrome? I think
yeah,
that's
it's
it.
like the slow erosion of your eye, and then eventually, sadly, you know your
Yeah,
vision deteriorates over time, and
yeah.
it's really sad.
But in my case, I think I was lucky enough to catch it in time when I was still young. So because it's interesting because for the first 5 years, because I think I got it when I was around 16 or 17, and then I didn't even know what it was. I just saw it as like, I have like I would start to tear up. My eyes would get teary a lot. I'd have to like go to the bathroom and get Kleenex or whatever and wipe my eyes, both my eyes, because I would I didn't want people to see me just like they thought I'd be crying or whatever, so I didn't want people to, think something was really off. But come to find out that was part of the RES. I had no idea because my mom's a munchie. She, whenever there were medical symptoms, she's just, oh, he's, you know, that's another thing. Part of it too was that my mom actually, which I didn't know, I don't even think she knows this. She actually lied to enroll me in early learning center in my town because when
And
I was
wait, enroll you in what?
in an early learning center where I live,
Oh,
because
okay, all right.
where I live, I don't know if they have this all across the country, but back in when I was a toddler, this was in '99. She enrolled me in school. I was 3, right? And we had I because I remember as a toddler seeing the school being built. Like they had first built the school like 2 years, 3 years before that. And it's interesting now because I started to put two and two together recently, and I'm wondering if she had lied to enroll me in the early learning center by saying I was autistic, which might actually be true.
Oh,
I haven't
have
been
you ever been
able to,
tested?
huh?
I was gonna say, have you been tested for autism or?
Yeah, 3 times, 3 times.
Okay.
And here's another thing about the Munchausen's, right? When I had those 3 tests, I think on the last test, I think I was in high school. The I think they're called the proctor of the test said to me to my face, "You should not be tested." Well, no, he said you should not be classified. Classified was his word. He said you should not be classified, meaning as autistic.
So the tester told you this?
Yeah, to my face.
Oh,
Because when
okay.
he looked at my test results, he basically was trying to say he alluded to like if I was autistic, my results would be much lower than they were. Basically, I excelled at the test.
Well, see, that brings me into the topic of, have you, I'm sure that everyone knows about hypochondriatric syndrome or hypochondriac. That's what I like to
Hmm.
call it. Yeah,
It's very similar to Munchausen. It's extremely similar.
that's immediately what I thought of, because sometimes you can get physical symptoms from your mind playing tricks on you. Like if you obsess
Hmm.
over having a certain illness,
Yeah,
then your body will trick you, your mind will trick you into having certain symptoms that you don't have. And especially if you've been conditioned since, well, a child, because
yeah,
that's what I would say. That's
yeah.
what
And to
I got.
think that I actually had them when I didn't, it was interesting because the difference between hypochondriacs and Munchausen's parents are with Munchausen's, it's a parent does it to their child. With hypochondriacs, I think they're typically like adults already.
Yeah,
I
like
think.
hypochondriacs, they do it to themselves. But what you're talking about,
Yeah,
that's, yeah, like I
yeah.
said, conditioning from, you could, I don't want to say the word like grooming, but yeah,
It's
to
it's
that,
not
to
that, but it's
grooming
similar
to,
to it. Yeah, It's not. It's similar.
Yeah.
I would say. Well,
So that's
actually, the proper term is medical abuse. That's what it is. Medical abuse.
now,
Pretty
Jamie,
much.
do you still maintain a relationship with your mother? I know that you said yesterday, the last time that we tried to schedule it, you were talking about her. So do you still talk to her or
Yeah, actually,
maintain a
yeah.
relationship?
Actually, I live with her. I live with her.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But actually, as we speak, I'm on Section 8 and I'm trying to get a move going now. But actually, I'm trying to facilitate some jobs so that I can get everything together. But
So I did want to ask you, let's talk more about xenophobia because you
hmm
mentioned that
hmm
in the email. Can you share
hmm
your experiences and exposure to xenophobia?
xenophobia is actually quite interesting from my perspective because it's never happened to me. I guess I've been more of like a witness to it from, like I said, with my mom and my dad and stuff. So that's more along the lines of what my experience has been. And also, of course, like I said, my dad's from Bermuda and he came over here. So he basically had to assimilate to my mom's family and they're all Americans. And, so that's basically what it was. And which is why I was telling you before, I wanted this to kind of be part two because of that, because I guess our part one, so to speak, was more about, my dad's side and my siblings and their whole, the abandonment and everything that I faced with them and my dad, my grandpa, my sisters, da 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 da. So that was more their xenophobia toward me. But this, what with my mom's side, their thing was more about their xenophobia toward him, toward my dad.
Yeah. Wow, that's weird.
But I would say there's a parallel there, but it's interesting because I, and even like as we're talking, I'm trying to see the kind of connections here. I would say, even looking back on my life in general, that there probably are a lot more parallels than I realized because one of them I think is that I think part of the reason for my mom being, well, let's face it, she's an ARC, she has BPD as well, and for really her Munchausen's too, is I feel like from, her the M incident in 1978. But I think part of her gaslighting too, because she used to always do this. I remember even when I was 7 and 8 years old, when me and her used to argue, she would scream at me, "You are your father's son," and as a kid, I'm thinking like,
Oh, I was
it's
told
kind
that
of like
too.
what
I
happened.
was told that too. No, I said I was told that
Wow,
too about my grandmother. Yeah, she said, "You were just like Isaac."
wow.
I don't care. I'm going to say my name.
Let me tell you, that's another parallel. My mom's dad's middle name is Isaac.
I think you
Isn't life
mentioned,
interesting like that?
yeah, I think that you touched on that the last time we
hmm
spoke on here. I think
hmm
I remember something about that. Yeah, that is weird. Who was
hmm
it again? Your whose middle
My
name?
mom's dad. Yep.
That's weird.
His actually, well, he's dead, so I'll say his name. His name was James Isaac Tyler. It's my grandpa's name on my mom's side.
It's freaky. It's a small world, you know.
Yes, but
Parallels,
actually,
Matrix, you know.
yeah, I sound like Andrew Tate, the Matrix, the Bugatti, the Matrix. But actually, well, speaking of my grandpa actually, I think from our last conversation or two conversations before that, I think I said that my grandpa was the one that M worded my mom when she was a teenager. Hi, YouTube. I see you. YouTube. Yeah. So my grandpa was the one that M worded my mom, pretty much. And that is the reason for it's 2023 now. So that's the reason she's been a munchie and she's had BPD and she's been a narc for is it 45? Let me do the math.
Jamie,
Yeah,
did she go
for
to any
40.
therapy or counseling that you know?
No, never. Nope.
Do you know why?
I will say she's very old school and very set in her ways. So I think it also the second reason I think is her Munchausen's. I think plays a role in that too because she wanted to make me go to therapy because she thinks I'm the toxic one.
So let me interject here. I think that,
Hmm.
and correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds as though your mother is trying, was, as I should say, was trying to project her problems and issues, the ailments that she had, the psychological things onto you. Am I
Yep,
right or am I wrong?
100% right.
Mhm.
100% right.
That's a
But
lot of
her,
trauma.
yeah, but her narcissism kind of springboarded into Munchausen when I was 17. Because I had no idea that she was like that until I was 17. No
That's
idea
probably
at all. 'Cause-
because,
well, and even let me kind of go back a little bit. My
no,
parents
go ahead.
separated actually when I was 14. They separated. And we moved out of town to actually the town we live in now, Freehold, in New Jersey. Small town, middle of nowhere, basically. And actually, when my mom and dad separated, I remember this like yesterday. I never witnessed this. My mom and my step cousin did, but I was never there, so I don't know. My dad, now this is from my mom's own mouth. She told me this to my face that my dad stalked her when they separated because he wanted to find out where she lived, was moving to.
So when your parents separated, he stalked your mother.
Yes, and now that is something from that she said out her own mouth. I was not there.
And who
She
told
was
you that? Your
there.
grandmother told you that?
My mom. No, my grandma was already. She had passed away 2 years before that. So this
Oh,
is
I'm
all my
sorry.
mom.
Yeah.
It's okay, but yeah, my mom and my step cousin were driving because she had to take him to get his driver's license because he was 8. I think he was 17, 18, getting his driver's license. So he had because that's actually kind of hilarious because he had taken his road test 5 times, and on that fifth time, he drove him to the DMV in I think it's Eatontown back then. She drove him to Eatontown, and then they were coming back from Eatontown to Freehold. And as they were pulling into our apartment complex, my dad was across the road looking at her pull into the complex. That's what she told me about, because she's in the car, my step cousin. My step cousin happens to look to the left of the street and sees my dad, and basically he told my mom, "There's, such that." Well, actually, I'm I'm not gonna say such a because I'm named after my dad. So there's Donald. Oh my God, there he is, and she's like, "Oh my God," So that became a whole thing too.
So it was kind of
Right.
confirmed with thy own eyes from them.
Yeah, because like I said, I wasn't there. I'm only going by what she said to me, and this was like years after the fact. You know, so but actually, I think all of that kind of played into my mom projecting and that whole thing because as I became an adult and I started to kind of reflect on my life, it was really after my dad died that I started to notice things were not as well as they. What was the old saying? Things are not as they seem. I guess it was the saying, something like that. So basically, it
The
was that
fog
sort of
cleared.
situation. Yeah, it was that type of situation where it was like, yeah, I've basically lived a lie for the last 14 years, and then,
How did you
you
handle
know,
that? Like, how did that
I
affect
actually
you
took
and
it.
into that
I took it
realization?
quite well, actually, because my mom, I remember the day that he passed away because because I wasn't there. My mom had been with him at the hospital because she actually called 911. They came to get him and actually, this is a little interesting. Here's some, I'm gonna give a little lesson on how family loves to lie on people, but we're getting there. So I'm gonna set up the
Take your
scene
time.
in my old neighborhood. This is where my mom grew up. In on our whole street is all my cousins. My aunts and uncles already moved to Florida before then, long before then. So they were all in Florida, and my oldest uncle was in Georgia when he passed away in 2008. So basically, it was my cousins, my aunts, my uncles. Wow, actually, no, just my cousins. So first cousins, second cousins, third cousins, fourth cousins, any you can pretty much figure out. They all live on a 1 mile radius of our street, right? And that is actually how it's been on my mom's street that we grew up on for like since 300 years. So since like the 1760s, because this is family lore. But if you look at where we grew up, it kind of looks like the truth. It's kind of in plain sight. Uh, I actually found out that we grew up on a former slave plantation. It's very interesting. And for 300 years after, because one of my great, however many grandfathers, he's one of the Conivers in New Jersey. They're a very illustrious family in New Jersey, New York. Um, I believe, I haven't actually confirmed it yet, but one of the Conover slave owners in my area, in Manalapan, which in those days was part of Millstone in Jersey, he had paid $2,000. This is 17 something, 18 something. He had paid $2,000 to purchase his way out of slavery, and he won. He got the money and he paid the slave owner, and he was freed. From that $2,000, he also got the my family's land, which is actually our whole street, because in the 1800s, 1700s, my family street where we all grew up on, that was all patches of grass, and basically we were able to build our houses and our family's church in 1836. Where we all went to church for 20 years and still do. We all, that became my whole family's plot of land, and it's passed down between my third cousins, and it's always been like that since back then. So for 300 years, we passed it down, passed it down, passed it down. So, but that, like I said, all of this kind of goes into the narcissism of my family line, but it's very interesting once you kind of put two and two together. Because me personally, as an adult, I had no idea that all of this would come together and make sense like it does now. But it is true. With age comes wisdom. It's true. So,
So
but can you kind of see how all of this kind of plays into my mom's munchiness and her narcissism and stuff like that? Because
I do.
yeah, oh yeah. And then on top of that, we have like 200 years of family business that, of course, when you're the truth teller of the family, people get offended. Why are you putting family business out there? Da, 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 da. And, because I've had some of that too, where I
Well,
literally, like, I've been threatened over telling the truth in our family before. So, you know, it is real. Narc abuse is very real, and I've seen it firsthand. So,
I mean, why don't they want the information out there? Why don't they want you talking about it?
quite frankly, it's because they don't want to be held accountable.
Of course.
And even in my mom's case, because for 4 years, my mom, my cousin, and I all lived together, because my cousin moved in with us. And my mom, it's interesting how Now that I'm an adult, whenever I try to hold her accountable for her behavior, she'll deflect, she'll project. It's a whole thing. She continues now even to gaslight me, and I'm 27, almost 30, and she continues to gaslight me, deflect, project, and like I said, she also, in addition to being a narcissist with BPD, well, she also has BPD too, and it's a whole thing. Like I'm talking like at one point, almost every single day, she used to curse me out, yell at me, the whole thing, just for no reason. She just yelled. And we would go back and forth. We'd have shouting matches, and it was just not healthy. But let me say something that really kind
You
of
know,
impacted my life, right? Was when a friend of mine who was a psychic medium had told me, because I was basically, because I used to tell her, you know, why is all this happening to me? Is what I used to tell her, like, why is all this happening to me? Why were there so many situations where, there were situations where I could have been, talk of the town. I could have been, you know, my career could have been in jeopardy, and I could have been, like they could have had my head on the platter pretty much. So why am I still kind of just floating through life like, nothing happened and and my friend, she said, you're an empath, which is why you've been through so much. And when I tell you that was like the light bulb, like the light switch that went off, it all made sense. It all made sense.
most people, when they discover that they're an empath or they're sensitive, some people like to call themselves sensitive, but yes, you are correct. It's empathic. Um, I went through that same spiritual awakening because, well, I'm not going to talk much about myself because we're talking about you. But yeah, I argued a lot with my grandpa, and we got into heated
Mhm.
arguments a lot. And I've talked about this here on my channel in my audio biography, Dear Isaac, which has launched, by the way, 2023. Consider
Oh,
becoming a member.
that's why you titled the video "Dear Isaac," because I saw, I think, a
Yeah,
couple weeks ago you titled it "Dear Isaac," and I was thinking like,
yeah,
what is it about? But I never looked into it. Mhm.
yeah. It's paid, but if anyone's willing to pay, they're more than welcome to go over there and check it out. But I share those experiences because all of that led me up to, I want to say, 2014. And that's
Mhm.
when my spiritual awakening began. And I discovered that I was an empath. And I began to research what exactly that meant. And I want to ask you, Jamie, how has being an empath inspired you and impacted your career choice in the future?
It's actually impacted my career choices a lot. Like, I think, do you remember in our, I think, one or two conversations ago, of course, I was cameraless, faceless. um, I remember telling you about, let's give this person a name. Let's call them Isabella. I remember telling you about Miss Isabella Howard. Uh,
Oh,
and
Quadir. I'm just going to go ahead and say his name. I
you
don't
said
care.
it, not
Quadir.
me.
Quadir Howard. Quadir. Yes, Quadir.
Listen. I only said Isabella because I always said if I have a daughter, I'll name her Isabella after, I guess, one of my great 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 grandmammies from Virginia. But yeah, that's another thing. And then I think even with me being empathic, I also went into my whole family tree, and I always think that had something to do with it too. And you know,
Did
but
you ever discover
it,
what your ancestors like? What were their occupations or
some of them,
career
yeah, some of them I
choices?
did.
What were they?
Actually, that's an interesting point. I This is going some years back, actually. On my dad's side, I know that. he was descended actually from this man. I believe his name is it James Jacques Perot? Yeah, he actually was Bermuda's first postmaster. So basically, I'll give you the American version. Um, a postmaster, I think, is kind of like a mailman, or it's either a mailman, I think, or like a county clerk. You know, the county clerk's office in
Yeah,
certain states.
that's where
Yeah,
my mind was going. Like it's something to do with the postman or mail.
it's a mix of both. Yeah, it's a mix of both. It's like a county clerk and a mailman kind of at the same time. It's a postmaster. That's but in the UK they call it a postmaster. Of course, like I said, I can hear my dad's accent. The postmaster, the postmaster.
Don't
And it's
worry,
so
just
funny
let
because
your accent flow. I love it. I like your
yeah,
accent.
because like I said, let me tell you, when I get around anybody from Bermuda, I know how to do the accent. It just flips. It's like my Bermudian accent just has a mind of its own.
See, whenever I move, I kind of lost my Eastern Kentucky accent. I still have it sometimes, especially
You
whenever I
do,
get
and sometimes
heated
when you
up.
talk, I
All
can
that.
still hear it. When you talk, you have it though.
Yeah,
I can hear it.
like it's in Pat. But ever since moving down here, hold on for 1 second. My computer's about to die. I have to plug it in. It's kind of faded, but I love my Kentucky accent.
Listen. I normally don't say this, but I'll say it just for context. I've dated a lot of Southerners, and quite frankly, since my girl was from Georgia, so we kind of have that in common. So, and when I talk, I kind of have this kind of half Northern, half Southern accent going on when I talk. So, like if I talk too fast, it just jumps out. And even like a lot of my friends down south will tell me, like, "Oh my God, you do have it." I just laugh because people typically like in where I live, people never notice it until I tell them. So it's kind of funny. It's kind of like this running gag, inside joke, with myself. But it's interesting because
Well,
even with because when I was young, we used to drive down to Florida a lot, Florida and Georgia, because like I think I told you before, my aunts and uncles moved to Florida like 25 years ago. So when I was young, my mom and my grandma, my cousins and we all would I would go with my mom to Asbury. We'd go to I think it was Enterprise back then. Yeah, Enterprise and Budget were like the two car rental places back then. But I don't think Budget's around anymore, is it? Budget?
yeah, budget rental
It
cars.
is.
That's what. Yeah, whenever I vacationed in Florida, that's who I use.
Oh, they are still around. I didn't know that because I don't think we have them
Yeah.
around where I am anymore. But yeah, back then the two car rentals that we had were Enterprise and Budget were like the two places that my mom used to always go to. But yeah, so we go to Enterprise and Budget, we rent our car, and then we drive down to Florida. And then sometimes, like occasionally every summer, we live at my aunt's house in Florida. And occasionally, if my uncle in Georgia needed us to be somewhere, we had to spend a week or two with him. My aunt and my uncle and me, and my cousin and we'd all drive. We'd pack our car up again. After first getting to Florida from Jersey, and we'd hop in the car, drive 4 hours to Louisville, and spend our
Louisville,
week.
Louisville.
Not
I have
Kentucky,
to
Georgia.
correct you.
Not Kentucky. Not Kentucky, Georgia.
Louisville.
People
You
get
can
mixed up
say
all the time. I
Louisville.
have to
You
tell
can
them.
say Louisville, but do not say Louisville.
No, it's not Kentucky, it's Georgia. Because I tell people the same thing. Like, people get so confused. I have to tell them, it's not Louisville, Kentucky. It's Louisville, Georgia.
Oh, I
Because
didn't
it's
know
like,
that there was a Louisville, Georgia.
yeah. And I'm telling most people don't. And I have to tell them all the time, it's not Kentucky. No, 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 no. And I'm talking like, we're talking the deep, 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 deep South. Like, middle of nowhere. Like, nearest gas station is 40 miles away.
Oh yeah,
I'm
the hills have eyes.
listening, and we used to go down there when there was no social media. You couldn't use an Uber. You had to actually
Sorry.
drive. you know.
It's
So,
very.
and I'm telling you, like, it's the boonies, middle of nowhere, you know. As
I'm
my ex,
sorry. I'm sorry if you have to repeat yourself, but what did you say that your occupation goal was, or how what's your future occupation, or what are you
oh well,
planning?
actually, I'm certified in travel industry, and my background, my certification is as a travel agent. But actually, right now, I I technically work for this. I'm not going to say the full thing, but I'm going to say the industry because it's broad enough. But I work in insurance pretty much as well, like as a side hustle. And I was supposed to get my casualty license with them, but I ran into some trouble financially, so now I'm trying to work it all out now. But yeah, so my background is in travel, and then yeah, I have my travel agent's license, and then I have my I was supposed to get my second license. So if I ever get around to that, I'm gonna pretty much work at that, and then I'm gonna use that to finance my move. And then after I'm able to move, then I'm gonna try because this is my future occupation. I'm gonna try to after I move get into maybe being a songwriter, like a professional songwriter, and then possibly look into being a music manager as well. So that would be pretty cool to look into.
Sorry, I had to mute myself. I was coughing. That sounds
It's all right.
interesting, Jay. So, has what inspired you to take that path? Was your passion always like been music or traveling?
Yeah, actually, kind of. Yeah, my songwriting was always really my main passion, but as a kid, I didn't see it like that when I was a kid. When
I've
I was
always loved
9,
music.
yeah, and when I was 9, I got into singing because I remember like the first time I even thought about it, I was 9, and Rihanna's album, her let me see, Rihanna's first, I want to say first, no, her second album came out because I
Music
was
under
9,
the sun.
2010.
A girl like me.
Yeah, a girl like me. It was the one
Music
with
of the
Pun the
sun.
Replay.
Oh, yeah, yeah, that's the album.
A girl like me was it with Pun the Replay? Turn the music up. Oh,
No,
see the
maybe.
Caribbean coming out.
Okay. When was Pond
But yeah,
Replay released, and what?
I
You're
want to
going.
say it
Go
was
ahead.
'06. I want to say around that time, '05, '06.
2005, and it was off Music of the Sun.
Oh, it was her first album. Okay, okay. So yeah, it was '05 then. So yeah, so I was actually was 8. So yeah, so I was 8 and Pawn Replay just came out, and I remember back then Radio Disney used to play her all the time, and every time, like even when we went to Florida that year, so I was in my aunt's room, knowing I had no business being in their show. So I would sneak in with my little boombox, my gray boombox, and actually I still have it. I would sneak in with my little gray boombox, my cute boombox, and I would listen to the radio, and then when Rihanna came on that one time, because they used to play her like 30 times a month. But I think it was like a month that went by and they kept playing the song every single day. So that one particular day, I decided when the song came out, I would just start singing. I don't know what came over me, but I just started to sing. And then I think that was really the moment when I got my singing bug. Like, okay, I'm gonna be a singer. I'm gonna be a singer. So a few years go by, and I'm trying to, sing and see if I can, do it or whatever. And in '06, I had enrolled in a singing course, which, long story short, I dropped out of because it's funny looking back now. I think looking back, I always knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't have anybody to help me get there. I think with most kids now, they don't know what they want to do, but they either have the money and don't have the support system, or maybe they have the money and don't have the resources, I guess. I don't know. But I remember I tried to enroll in a music class, like a, a vocal lesson course. And I remember because my teacher was English. See the English connection? And actually, because I only had one lesson with him, I remember he told me, this is a very important lesson. I try to tell kids now. I'm getting to singing. He taught me how to project my voice when I sing. And actually, I think this is why sometimes I have a tendency to talk too much. Because sometimes when I talk too much, I yell. So I think that could also be where it came from. I don't know, but it's kind of interesting and ironic looking back. But he was
Yeah,
telling me,
you're fine. I have the same issue sometimes. I talk too much. I'm up here all the time.
yeah, but for me, I think it's from when I had that vocal lesson. Because I remember the way he taught me was he said, "Who's your best friend's name?" I said, "Well, his name." Says, let's call them Jonathan." So he said, "Say Jonathan, Jonathan," and then he said, "Okay, louder, Jonathan, Jonathan." Then he said, "I yell." He said, "Yell," and then we went through the whole thing, and that was actually because he was trying to teach me about projection. When of course music, when you project your voice. Let's
Yeah.
say like if you're in a stadium and you have to project your voice to the whole stadium so they can hear you. That's projection. Because you don't want the crowd to just hear a whisper.
Yeah, exactly. And plus, you don't want the crowd to also think that you're yelling at them like that.
Right,
It's a
right, right. And even like let's say Whitney Houston, when she used to sing, we all knew what she was saying. You know what I mean?
yeah, exactly.
So that was more along the lines of projection. How um when certain singers sing, well, I'll give you an example. Janet Jackson, I don't know what possesses her to not learn projection. I don't know why she doesn't. I don't know how she's gotten as far as she has without learning projection, but that that's more in my opinion because I said it, but you know, now
And you're entitled
Michael
to it.
Jackson
So,
himself projected, but Janet's a different story. At least to me, it's my opinion. But Janet. It's funny as I'm talking about Janet Jackson. I'm thinking about Quadra's video. Excuse me, Isabella's video. That Janet Jackson, you tried a world tour.
yeah. What did he talk about again in that live stream? That's years ago. Like Janet Jackson, you tried it.
That was for Patreon. I remember that. That was for Patreon, and
He released it to YouTube initially, though. Yeah.
well, because actually I was a patron back then. He released on Patreon first as an early release, and then he posted on Patreon he posted on YouTube second.
Oh,
And he was
okay.
talking about how Janet. This is for her last album, which was like 7 years ago. Because she just released another album this year, but her last album, I think it was called Unbreakable. So the
I
tour
don't keep
she
up with
launched,
Janet Jackson, so
huh?
I said I don't keep up with Janet Jackson.
I don't either, but that's a different story. Anyway, yeah. So her last album was called Unbreakable, and the tour she did was called the State of the World tour. So that is the tour that Quadir was talking about. Excuse me, Isabella. That is the tour Isabella was talking about in the video, State of the World tour, and Isabella was talking about how, the Janet Jackson You Tried a World Tour should be called that because, Janet doesn't, she does 3 shows, then she doesn't show for the rest of the tour because her voice is not up to par. Oh,
It's crazy
which,
how we used to laugh at him. We don't laugh at
yeah,
him anymore.
yeah. And I kind of feel like, and I told this to my mom a couple weeks ago, I feel like around the time that he first learned his mom's cancer diagnosis was when things started to change in terms of like his attitude and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, it's understandable, and like you said before,
Yeah.
people they cope with, things differently. But yeah, that's when there was a definite shift when he learned about his mom's cancer diagnosis. According to what he said, though, now this is just me. This is my opinion. I don't know if this is true or not, but I'm thinking that maybe she had cancer before she even told Quadir because the way that he describes it is it progressed so quickly. Now, I'm not saying it didn't, but maybe she had it and she didn't tell Quadir until she, had to, until it got to that severe stage.
That could be it too. Because actually, let me give you an example. My grandfather, my mom's dad, he died of cancer. And the way my cousin explained it to me was when he first got it, I believe, actually, he passed August of 87. So from February of 87, he was his diagnosis and he died in that August. It was like 6 months.
Yeah. Now, some cancers they do progress that quick. Some rare
It's true.
form of
It's very true.
cancers.
Yeah.
That's what
So I
Quadir
don't
said
know
that
if
his
maybe,
mother.
well, because I remember Quadir saying that she told him in June of 2019 and she was already dead July of 2019. That is
So
how he
from
told us on
June,
Patreon.
and when did she die
She,
again?
Quadir's mom,
Yeah, she died like early. It was 2019. Was it mid or late 2019?
I believe it was July 29th, 2018, if I'm not mistaken. Because when he had his second
He
channel,
found out. Yeah, that's taken down.
well, when he had his second channel, I know he did a video about his mom's passing. And at the end of the video, he actually wrote her birth date and her death date across the screen. But yeah, I'd have to, I guess, I don't know. But I believe, because I remember that video, I believe she passed July 29th, 2019. I believe.
Yeah,
And she
that's what
told,
I'm beginning.
yeah. And she told him that June then. Because that's how he explained it. Because he said a month after she told him, she was gone.
Yeah, that's why I'm thinking that she could have had cancer before that. She just didn't let Quadir know, and probably for
Yeah.
the best, because that really would have sent him into, I
Yeah.
think, the
Yeah.
mental spiral worse than what we've already seen.
Yeah. Yeah. But and even my theory too about Quadir, I think, I just think that also he probably became. Now I'm going to try to time my words carefully here when I say this. I think he, what's the right wording for this? Because he started to partake in substances, shall we say, to cope with his mom's passing. I'll put it like that.
Do you mean weed or marijuana?
You said it, not me.
Well, he's pretty open about that. He smokes weed. Like
Yeah,
he's
I
been,
know. I remember he used to smoke on YouTube.
yeah, he still smokes on YouTube.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
know,
But
now some people they were saying that it was other things than weed. Like allegedly, they said that he was doing crack and other thing. I don't know, but
I
I don't think.
remember that. I remember people used to say that.
Yeah, but see, crack is a hell of a drug to hide. And
Yeah,
Quadir, yeah, he's always
yeah.
been a thin guy.
Right,
So
right, right. Although he actually said that when he lived with his ex, he said he was at his highest weight because I think he said he was depressed at the time when he lived with his ex,
yeah, he did
and he
say
started
that.
to binge eat, I guess you would say. So he
He
said his
started
highest
binge
weight
eating.
was 215. He said,
I think so. Yeah.
So he said ever since then, like that's the heaviest he's ever been in his life was 215. And I think we can all tell he's definitely slimmed down a lot since then. So because that was
Well,
what 6, 7 years ago.
a lot that I had to think whenever he was thin and those live stream, the meltdown live streams. I'm just going to classify them all as that.
Yeah, yeah,
Claudio's circus parade error. Because that's what they were, child. I mean, they were
true,
entertaining, but literally
true.
at the end of the day, we were witnessing someone having a mental breakdown. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
he didn't have food in his fridge, and didn't he have to have his ex buy him groceries?
I remember him saying that. Oh my god, that
Yeah,
is
that's what I think.
yeah. He did say that.
I think that's the reason why he was on the thinner side because he's gained a lot of weight. He looks good. Quadir has a nice body. See, not everything has to be negative, right?
True, 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 true.
But
But I do remember. I think the way he phrased it at the time was that because he had a living wage for his mom, and the way he phrased his ex buying him groceries was he didn't even say the part about he had no food in his fridge. He just said, "Oh, my mom had her living wake, and my ex came by to drop off food for the wake."
I
That was
was
how he phrased it at the time.
that's how I interpreted. Like I was thinking when he said that, because how else is he buying groceries? And plus, it costs a lot to deliver groceries to your house. I know whenever I order from
Wait, you're saying that his ex came by to bring him groceries recently?
no, not recently. This is later back when he was doing those live streams.
Oh, okay, 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 okay. Yeah, so I'm thinking this was before his mom passed. Okay, but
And yeah, and
okay,
he doesn't
it makes
drive
sense now.
too.
Hmm.
Yeah, he doesn't drive. His car is, I don't know, he has something going on with his car. He said that he wants to get back into driving, but we'll have to see
Oh, that
about
was a
that.
while ago. I think because he had said he paid his car off. I remember.
Yeah, he did pay his car off.
Yeah, but I think because maybe he still is in that mentality of like he doesn't like to drive, so I think it just sits there. I guess.
He was, and I can see why, because I was in a very serious car accident back in 2011, and we were
Oh
T-boned.
wow.
Yeah, October 22nd, 2011, approximately at 4:43 p.m.
Oh wow.
That
I'm
I
sorry
still
to hear that.
remember it. So it does something to you after that happens. And some people, they choose not to drive anymore. And it takes them
Yeah,
years to get back on the road. It
that's
didn't do that
true.
to me, but I can see how it would do that to some people.
Mm. Does it still affect you now?
It does, but in a positive way. Like I'm that's not the first accident I've been in. I've been in two, one, two, three accidents in my life, and one of which was caused by me. It just makes me. I don't look at my phone while I'm driving. I put it on Spotify or something. People
Hmm.
they complain all the time. Oh, you didn't get back to my text. Well, I was probably on the road. That's why.
Right, right.
My phone because that's how I wrecked the last time, and that was back in 2016. And that was because I was looking down at my phone trying to change the song. I ran the red light and I T-boned this camper. It was some
Wow.
camper. Yeah, it flipped. It was pretty
And
bad.
let me tell you, those RVs are like 30, 40 feet long. Oh my god.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't that big. Like it was a smaller one. It was,
Oh, okay, okay. Hmm.
but still, it was very traumatic, and it's just made me a wiser driver since I pay attention to everything on the road. That's how it's affected me.
Well, I'm just glad that you're still here, and
Yeah,
that
me too. You know
yeah, that it
that.
because it could have been a lot worse. So that I'm glad that you are being taking precautions and things.
God was with both of us that day. And even after that happened, the fire department, after the wreck, they arrived on the scene, but see, they didn't unhook the battery. That was a big no-no. The car
Really?
was total. No, they didn't. They forgot to unhook the battery. So what they did was they towed the car back to my grandparents' house. My grandmother, she went to the urgent care to get her ribs checked out because she suffered cracked ribs from this.
Oh,
And I was
oh,
in the
was she
back.
with you?
Yeah, she was in the car. She was driving.
Oh.
Yeah, she was driving and she wasn't, I guess the sun was in her eyes and she was eating at the time. So,
Oh.
mhm. But whenever they towed the car back to my grandparents' house, because they didn't unhook the battery, it burst into flames just out of nowhere.
Well, I remember that a lot of times in car accidents, if you don't unhook the battery, it can kind of be flammable and caught and light into a fire if you don't
Due
unhook it,
to
I
the
guess.
sparks. Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
happened. And thank God we
And
weren't
and
in it.
especially if you're in and I know because I used to spend summer in Florida for 7 years straight, and we used to drive down at 95. Oh my god,
See, this
I
didn't
could
happen.
never. I would be heartbroken if I had a car and I was down 95, especially in Jacksonville. Woo! During rush hour. Oh my god, that would be like the
95's nothing to fuck with. Like, I've been
yes.
down twice in interstate, what is it, Interstate 4 in Orlando. Yeah,
Ooh.
it's kind of like a vehicular S word, highway
Yeah.
SUICID.
I know from spending in summer in Jacksonville. Jacksonville the same way, especially down 95, I-95 in the summer. And especially like with the sun in your face and you're driving down 95 and because Jacksonville's huge. It's kind of like the LA of down south to me. Because I remember because we used to go to Winn-Dixie and what is it? I'm trying to think of down south.
Before I moved to Florida, I thought that Winn-Dixie went out of business.
You did?
Yeah, they used to have them back. Well, I remember in my hometown in Kentucky, we had two Winn-Dixies, but they closed back in a very
Really?
long time ago, like 2007, and then Kroger came in.
Oh no. Winn-Dixie was around when I was a kid, and it's still there. Still there.
Yeah. Like they took them out of Kentucky, and I thought that they just, I didn't see them anymore until I moved down to Florida. I'm like, Winn-Dixie is still existing.
And actually, it's funny you said that because when I was in Jacksonville, I know we had the main stores that were around back then. This is what 05, 06, maybe 04, 05, 06. The three main ones were Publix, Food Lion, and Winn-Dixie.
Food Lion, we had a Food Lion, we had a Winn-Dixie, we had a Kroger, of course Walmart. Every town has a Walmart.
It would not be down south without them three grocery stores, child. Oh my god.
No, I'm talking about Kentucky, child.
See, but of course, me being from Jersey, and we're driving down. I'm not from down south, so I didn't even know all that growing up. I just thought, oh, okay. These are like the main ones in Jacksonville. Come to find out when I get older, and watch the news. The Publix is all over the South, and the Winn-Dixie is all over the South. I'm like, really?
I didn't even hear about Publix until I moved down here.
Really? Wow.
No, they didn't have Publix up in Kentucky, no.
Wow.
I think they stopped, where is it, Tennessee? That's where they stopped. I looked at the Publix map, so I'm like, yeah, they stop in Tennessee. But they're scattered all over the South, you're right.
Yeah, and even with Food Lion, I think Food Lion went out of Jacksonville, I want to say about 2012, 13-ish.
They have
maybe.
Food Lion down here still.
Yeah, and I know because they took it out of Jacksonville, but I heard it's in like North Carolina. I think is like the northernmost point. I think
The nearest one towards me would be, I want to say, in Port Charlotte.
Kentucky.
No, Florida.
Yeah, West Florida, right? West
I
Florida.
live in Florida. I moved from Kentucky back in 2020.
That's right. I forgot.
Yeah. I moved from Louisville to Fort Myers. So.
Oh, okay. Fort Myers is nice. And actually, the othermost I've been to Florida is Orlando, and I think Tampa for Universal.
Have you been to Fort Myers?
No, not Fort Myers, just Tampa and Orlando for when I was 10. We went one summer we were down there and we went um my uncle thought it'd be a nice idea to take us to Universal Studios and Disney World.
Oh, nice. I went to. I haven't been to Disney World. I went to Universal Orlando back last October for the October Halloween Fest, the scare
How was it?
nights.
Did you like it?
Yeah, it was pretty good. Like they turned the rides into certain themes. All the coasters run at night.
Oh, that's cool. That's really
Yeah.
nice.
I also been to the Kings. Have you been to Kings Island in Mason, Ohio?
No, how was that?
It's pretty good. It's they have Kings Island, Cedar Point, and then they have I think
I know Cedar
California.
Point, yeah, but I've never been there. I know it though.
I haven't been to Cedar Point. I've only been to Kings Island. But
Because I
yeah, they
remember I used to watch a lot of documentaries about Cedar Point, like like even the theme parks and stuff back then when I was a kid. And I remember they used to say that at Cedar Point they had like the what is it, the world's largest roller coaster, I think.
they have the world's. I believe it is the park that has the most roller coasters.
That's it. That's it. Yeah, actually, if it was the world's largest roller coaster, I think that was before they built King Ka, because King Ka
It
is
could be.
actually at Six Flags Great Adventure, which is actually 10 minutes from my house, and I used to work there. Yep, Jackson, New Jersey. I know it well. I live 20 minutes from there, and
Oh
actually,
Lord.
that was my first job. Yeah. So, but that's a whole other thing. But you know, Jackson is like Freehold, middle of nowhere, Ocean County, a little conservative. You know.
After Hurricane Ian down here,
Mm-hmm.
um, that did a lot of damage. See, on the mainstream media, they classified it as being a Category 4 hurricane. No, that bitch was a Category 5, hands down. Anybody down
I
here in
saw the
Florida,
pictures. I was like, oh my god, like
right?
it was crazy.
Ian was not fucking around, and everyone in Florida, especially down here in South Florida, they're like, "Oh, whatever." Whenever you know how Floridians are, hurricanes don't
Yes,
phase us, but no
mm,
one was prepared.
of
No
course
one.
not.
And still see, there's some parts of Sanibel, Captiva. Have you heard of that place? Those islands?
I believe I have. Where is that? Is it off the coast of Florida?
It's off the west coast of Fort Myers. It's Sanibel,
Really?
Captiva Island. Yeah, it's like two little beach island
Hmm.
towns.
The
Very
only
nice.
one, only islands I really knew about in terms of Florida, because we lived in Jacksonville, were Amelia Island. That's like I guess 30 minutes off the coast, and then you had God, what's the other one? There was Amelia Island was to the right.
Let
Then
me see.
Jacksonville Beach, that was more the town off the coast of Jacksonville. And then there was a second island, I think. I forget the name. There was two.
Sanibel Island.
There
So
was.
it's Sanibel and Captiva. Let me pull it up on the screen.
Mhm.
But that place, you can't even get to it anymore. They still haven't rebuilt. I don't think they're about to finish the bridge or they're beginning construction, but you still can't get to that island.
And wasn't Hurricane Ian like 5 years ago?
Hurricane Ian was last year.
No,
2022.
that's
Hur-
how long it's. Oh my god! It feels like it was 5 years ago.
no, well, I mean, it's not Hurricane Isaac. Hurricane Isaac, I think they hit Florida too, but
Oh, I'm
it
thinking of
also hit
Hurricane Irma. My bad. That's why I was like 5 years ago.
yeah, Irma hit in 2017. But that's what the island
Sanibel
used to
Island
look
looks so
like.
small.
It is. It's a very small island and it has beautiful beaches.
Yeah.
But see, the causeway, that's what it looked like after Hurricane Ian. It's gone. You can't access it.
Wow, that is crazy.
See, this was a causeway. All of this used to be, a park, the causeway park where people would go fish, but you can't do that anymore.
Yeah. Now, was the causeway a part of an interstate? Because I know down south, they love to make bridges and tunnels part of interstates and stuff. But I
To
don't
give you a
know.
better perspective, see, here's Fort Myers up here,
Yeah,
and if you
West
go
Florida.
all the way down to McGregor, and then if you turn, you would go to this little island called Sanibel, and then over here it
Mm-hmm.
continues with Captiva.
Oh wow.
But and then you have Pine Island right here. That's another big island. And Matt Lachey is another place that's been destroyed by Ian. Let's see if I can pull it up. This what it now looks like uh, after Hurricane Ian, Hurricane Ion, as some people like to call it. But you see that? That's devastating.
Oh wow.
Some of those homes aren't even there anymore. They were so damaged that people left.
Yeah.
There was nothing else there for them.
Because
And
I
then
know in Jersey, at least, our equivalent of Ian was Hurricane Sandy. Remember 10 years ago? We had Hurricane Sandy. At least up here, we
that
had Hurricane Sandy. It was crazy. Because
Hurricane
Hurricane
Sandy.
Sandy for us was like y'all's Hurricane Ian. It was wild.
And you know, hurricanes don't normally hit the East Coast. So Hurricane Sandy
I
was
know, yeah. And I remember my mom had said Jersey hadn't had a major hurricane since like Hurricane Andrew. And that was what, like 92?
Mm-hmm.
It was wild because I know Jersey's climate is a lot like Jacksonville during hurricane season. You know, we might get 3 or 4 days of rain, like heavy rain and heavy wind, and that's it. You know, we won't get any like the actual hurricane because it's already long past the ocean. It's already in the ocean, so it'll because when the hurricanes hit Jersey every time, they never actually come on the coast. They will stay in the ocean. We actually get like the residual rain and wind, and then we get like power outages and knock down trees, and that's it. And then like a day or two goes by, and all the hurricane goes to New York and Long Island, and they get the crazy shit. You know, excuse me, they get the crazy mess. You know,
But you know
but
what? One thing I do have to give Florida, the state of Florida, after Hurricane Ian, we got lucky here. See, I had to evacuate, and I went inland to LaBelle, and
Mhm.
because where we're at, it's not near the water, but it's further inland, but we're right beside a river, so it's prone to
Oh yeah,
see.
Florida did that to you. Whew.
Mhm. And see, it was
And
mainly
let me tell
wind
you,
damage
I've
here.
I've never heard so many Lake Okeechobees and Apalachicolas in my life until we went to Florida. Woo.
Lots of Native American land. There was
Yes.
a lot of native.
Yes. Ooh. I still remember Irma. Remember Hurricane Irma? It's crazy. And what is it? They had Irma and oh no, Wilma was in Louisiana. That's right. Because then I was after Katrina. But wasn't there one more I'm trying to think of? There was Irma, Ian, and then why is one more in Florida sticking out to me around that time? I forget what the name was.
Ian. There was a triple threat. It was
Yeah,
back
I'm
in
trying to think of that third
2018.
one. I forget the name.
Was it Isaac or there
It
was
might
two
have been.
Hurricane Isaacs. The
That's
first one was
right.
in 2007, and then the other one was 10 years later. They renamed it because a hurricane, for it to be renamed, that's meaning it wasn't, an impactful storm. So, but something like Ian, Ian's off the list. Ian
Yeah,
is
Isaac. The
normally,
second Isaac was the one I'm thinking of. That 2017 Isaac was the one. Yeah, because I remember that in Florida too. Like all three were like crazy. It was. I remember they was nonstop every year. Florida, Florida, Florida. Da, 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 da. The hurricanes. I'm like, what is going on with South Florida? So whenever the hurricanes came around every year, we called my aunt, see how they're doing, and luckily for them in Jacksonville, I guess Jacksonville's in it's kind of like Jersey, where at least where I live in Jersey, my town is actually like 17 feet above sea level. So that's why, like I said, we get like heavy rain, heavy wind, and that's it. So
hey,
apparently Jacksonville is the same way.
Hey, Jamie,
So
I'm going to step away from the camera real quick, but you can continue talking.
okay, that's fine. Yeah, so apparently Jacksonville and Jersey are the same climate wise. So when the hurricanes would come around, we call my aunt and see how they're doing, and she'd say, "No, we didn't get any of the hurricane. We weren't forced to evacuate. Not every year," she said, "we weren't forced to evacuate." Um, because even when Hurricane Matthew came around to Jacksonville, it was crazy. And I'm saying this town had this damage, and looking at these pictures, and it was crazy. So, but every year, Jacksonville never seems to get that bad, and I'm like, wow, Jacksonville's a lot like Jersey because I know when the hurricanes, come here, it's like, oh yeah, we had power for 3 hours, but it wasn't that bad. And then I'm starting to see New York has this weather and during the hurricane, and what is it? Connecticut has this weather, and Pennsylvania's got this, and I'm like, oh, okay, we did well get lucky, but it's pretty interesting. So, but kind of reminds me of all the Florida Man videos I used to watch on YouTube because I'm like, yep, that's Jacksonville. Yep, that's what is it? Yep, that's Fort Myers. Yep, that's this. Yep, that's the But interesting. Kind of being bi-coastal as I have because you get to kind of experience a piece of the world that most people don't get to do and you travel and stuff. Because even when we used to go to Georgia, a lot of times, like I still remember a lot of the places we went to and stuff. Pretty interesting. In Georgia, we used to go to is it Sandersville, Georgia? We used to go to Sandersville, Georgia. One time we went, and that actually was where I learned about was it Kaya, the Saint, the rapper, My Neck, My Back. Yeah, I think it was either Kaya or it was somebody. Child, it's been so many years, and I think I talked about this on tape, but I have to find it. But my aunt went in the store to do something like 2 3 hours, and me and my cousins are in the car just sitting there. We're all talking or whatever, and this song comes on, and I'm like, "Oh my god, who's that?" We're sitting here rapping to the song, whatever. But of course, I guess in that era in Georgia, I guess music history, quote unquote, even though it's 2006, I'm saying Georgia music history. But back then, I know we used to listen to like Sierra. That was when Sierra first came on the scene, and she was big in Georgia back then, so we used to all listen to her. From Sierra, we used to listen to CeeLo's group. Was it Goody Mob? I think Goody Mob was
What are
huge
we
then
talking
too.
about? What are we talking about? I just got back.
Oh, about the music of when I was young, like when I used to go to Georgia, and the music that was around then. Let me see. There was Sierra. I'm trying to think of all the Georgia-based acts. There was Sierra. Ti was one other one too, but I think he
Yeah,
had.
he's from Georgia, isn't he?
Yep,
Who else is
I
from
remember he had the Paper Trail. When I was a kid, he had just released the Paper Trail album. That was the album with Rihanna and him saying "Live Your Life."
Oh yeah, yeah. I love that song. Just live your life. Hey, hey.
And actually, that album is kind of interesting because he was in that case last year. I'm not going to say what it is, but some of the
Oh wait, I know what you're talking about.
HT,
The
some of the
allegations.
HT, yes,
Oh wow.
yep. The album's called Paper Trail, and you were busted on HT charges. Isn't it a little ironic?
Yeah, that's
Um,
pretty. That didn't age well, now did it?
yeah, and that was 16 years ago now. 17 years ago. Yeah, 17 years ago now.
See, I didn't look much into that. I heard about it, but I didn't look further into it. Do you know more
I
about it?
looked into it, and actually, they
Do
said there were
tell.
30. There were 30 victims, and I know they said there were 27 women and 3 men.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
Oh
it's
my!
public.
I'm gonna have to look into that. May be something we have to talk about. That's Ti, right?
Yep, the
Oh
rapper who he likes to use all the northern words when he wants to sound intelligent or whatever. You know, he
yeah.
wants to sound as though he has a a northern education. when he talks like this, what I'm saying. You know, it's so funny hearing him talk because I think of my cousins in GA because they have the accent. So, and when I hear Ti talk, they talk just like him. So, as he sound like this, though, sometimes he'll try to talk like he's from up north or whatever, and tiny.
Tiny and Ti. Is that show still on?
No, the show was canceled because of the allegations.
That's what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
And
I never did get into it, but I did watch a couple episodes. Hot mess.
I never watched it, but apparently his son King is just like him. Apparently,
Oh, how old is his son?
I want to say if I'm 26, I want to say King is 18, maybe 17, 18. I don't know off the top of it, but I know he's around that age because he looks grown and he talks grown because he was the one that he went to. Was it Dairy Queen? It was either Dairy Queen or Burger King in Atlanta, and he had yelled at one of the employees, and like I think he actually got to like a fist fight with one of the employees, something like that.
I didn't hear anything about this.
And I remember that like yesterday. They gave Ti hell for that on social media, and Ti released. He didn't release a statement, but he actually went on Instagram Live, and he was driving. Child, just very down south of him to do that, and he actually like did a live video on Instagram, basically releasing his statement on Instagram while he was driving. So he would talk and drive.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, just so Georgia did this. Just very, very, very Fulton County.
Well, Jamie, let me ask you one more question before we wrap this up. And I want to ask you, where do you see yourself within the next 5 years?
I see
Don't
myself.
you love when people ask you that question? Like, I don't even know what to say.
It's so funny because I watch all the shows and they're like, "Where do you see yourself?" And the people are saying like, "I didn't think of that. Why would I be prepared?"
Yeah,
And like when they do it like in movies, their faces do all kinds of gymnastics, like it's so funny.
I look like a deer in headlights. I'm like, well, I like to say I'm untelling, so, but go ahead.
It's kind of like when Quadir used to say, "I know what a cage bird things I'm not telling."
Oh yeah, and nothing's going on.
Yeah. But I see myself. Let me see, 5 years. Okay, so I'm turning 27 this year, so I'll be 32 in 5 years. I see myself hopefully moved out of my mom's house. Hopefully,
I do too. I hope that you get out of there too. It sounds like you need to get away from her.
and everybody's told me that, but I start saying like, well, I don't have a lot of resources because it's like 2,000 to move my stuff, and then I have to pay for everything myself, and I'm
Have you
not
looked
doing well
into?
financially.
No, go ahead.
Oh, and also, yeah, I'll be 32. This will be 2028. Yeah, I'll be 32. So hopefully, because I'm also polyamorous, and I have, let's see, 2 boyfriends now currently. So hopefully, I'll be married to one of them. Hopefully. So, and my boyfriend is in Argentina, and he's a college student. So hopefully, he'll be graduated from college, maybe, and he'll be up here. I guess I don't know, but as for me, I hope, yes, well, have my own place. Hopefully, be in California if I can get there. Maybe, hopefully, cross my fingers. And I hope to at least have some money saved, have investments, have a support system. Because, well, currently up here I don't have one because all my mom's flying monkeys believe her. So, I just hope to, at least have some sort of stability because I'm very, very big on stability. So,
You said you want to move to California eventually?
hmm hmm
What part of California?
hopefully Los Angeles. Well, although right now, I know because I'm on Section 8 right now, but with Section 8, I just got rejected for a place in Northern California. So I think I'm gonna either have to apply it. Well, I'm gonna have to move if I'm selected. Because you have to get selected. Hopefully, I'll be able to move to either Indiana, Florida. Well, Jacksonville. Ironically, Jacksonville. Only my life. I'll have to. Okay, so
Jacksonville.
Indiana, Jacksonville, or I think there was a third place. I think NYC, and I'm 2 hours from New York, so that's convenient. But I think there a fourth place. I think there was a fourth place too. But yeah, there's so Indiana, Florida, Jacksonville, or New York are the three main places right now that
I've
I'm in.
looked into Indiana myself later down the line, like the state of Indiana.
Hmm
It's affordable. I mean,
Yeah,
very
everyone
affordable,
tell me that they're saying
especially
like,
compared to Florida.
yeah, and people were telling me like, because I know in Jersey, at least now, not 10 years ago, but now the rent here, the minimum rent starting out was like 1,500. So,
The
and
minimum rent down here would be, I want to say at least, if not the same, a little bit more expensive.
starting out,
So, and that's, well, yeah, starting out
wow,
at least $15.
wow,
Mhm.
and it's funny because people used to always tell me, "Oh, the South is much cheaper. You're gonna love it." Da, da, da." And I'm thinking, well, I don't really like the South, so I might not need to move there. But it's one of those things where if I have to move down there, I will. But I'll just keep my opinions to myself.
This is South Florida that I'm talking about, so it's going to be, of course, it's going to be expensive. Anything in Fort Myers, Bonita Springs, Naples, the West
Yes,
Coast is going to be outrageously expensive.
yeah. I know West Florida is like where all the seaside places are and stuff. And then Florida,
The seas. Wait, which ones?
like like I'm saying, like the shore properties and stuff, like where they have off the beaches and stuff, they have houses and stuff. It's kind of like Jersey.
Yeah, yeah, they have them on both coasts, and those beach houses go as high as, I've seen some like $10 million.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
not
like
kidding.
I know West Palm. West Palm has those. I know Carroll City, Sarasota. It goes runs
They're
the gamut, I
nice.
guess. In Florida.
They're really nice. Like I drive into a lot of these communities and these houses because I drive Uber Eats. So I do Uber Eats. And I get to see,
Oh,
yeah, like I get to see a lot of these places and I'm like, wow, this is nice. And I wonder how much do these mansions cost? I'm just curious. And plus I like it too because those customers tip well. You
that's
can expect at
great.
least a
Yeah,
$10
you got to
tip.
go there first to get the best money. Yeah,
Exactly. But see, the thing
yeah,
with Uber is like you don't have a choice of who you select. It's randomly selected. Anybody that does Uber Eats, DoorDash, any of those delivery apps knows it. You really don't have control over who your client is. Uber, you need to change that.
true. Because my friend used to work for DoorDash, and well, before her munchy mom, lied on her to the police and said she tried to kill her, which is not true. But before that, she was working for DoorDash, and she was saying the same thing. Like, but her problem was her friends, well, her exes rather, her exes used to actually like when they would, when she would break up with them, her exes were narcs. So as retaliation, her exes would like physically like take her cars from her.
Oh wow.
Like they would
Well, I
carjack
mean,
her
it's
and
not
take her to her house.
surprising, but wow.
Yeah, and it's as retaliation for her breaking up with them.
That's what narcissists do.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
and she lives in West Virginia, so I'm like, oof, yeah, you definitely need a car down there because I had an ex from West Virginia, and it's no joke, no joke.
I would figure with all of those hills and mountains, I mean, Kentucky is not really the most bicycle friendly place unless you live in, Lexington, Louisville, Bowling Green. If you go anywhere
Yeah,
outside of those metro areas, they have a lack of sidewalks. And if they are, they're like in downtown. The
yeah,
commercial side of towns do not have sidewalks in
that's
most
true.
towns.
And I noticed that when we were in Georgia and Florida all those years, it's just even Jacksonville's the same way. Like unless you live in a residential area, anywhere else in Jacksonville does not have sidewalks because it's either like highways people are driving, or it's probably I guess a public place, I guess. But other than that, in Jacksonville, even Georgia too, same thing. In my aunt's out of Georgia, it was what this Jefferson County, Georgia. Ooh, child, they definitely no sidewalks. No, 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 no.
Well, Jamie, I do appreciate you coming up and doing this interview. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to tell the viewing audience? What did you want people to get out of this interview, what we've heard tonight from you?
Well, I would say for for everything to make complete sense, I know Bandit has put part one of our interview on his members only section of his channel. So watch that first and then try to watch this if you can.
I may be re-releasing it, like
Oh,
for the
that'd be
public,
great. That'd be
so
great.
you can see it.
Yeah, that'd be great. So they can get the whole experience because it all goes together. So
And I'll even retitle it. If I can, I have to go back and look at which one, but I can retitle it and then put it on public so everyone can see it and they'll have a better context to what we're talking about in this stream.
nice. And when you re-release part one, just make sure you email me and just let me know, hey, da, 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 it's just called the new title or whatever it's called, just so that I can, be aware of it and I'll go on the channel and stuff.
Alrighty. I'll
Like
do
again,
that.
actually, regarding, Isabella Howard, Duchess of her own house.
The
Uh,
Peach Queen, the Dusty Georgia Peach. Oh my God, we're talking about Quadir Howard. See, I'm not afraid to say his name. What is he gonna do? Really, what's he gonna do? What the hell is Quadir gonna do?
but I
I've
just want to
taunted
say,
him in my
hey,
videos. He has yet
have
to
my,
respond to me.
yeah. Well, I guess I don't know if this is a down south saying, but I think I want to cross my T's and dot my I's. So I try to keep things, allegedly.
I'm just not scared of him. I know he threatens to sue anybody that even speaks his name. But hey, as what I was hearing another podcaster say about last night, it reminds me of these two YouTubers, creators that threaten to strike people's channels, right?
Hmm.
You know what clip channels are, Jamie?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like clip channels they clip kind of like what we're doing over here. They clip other creators' content in short segments. And they were
Kind of
threatening
like what
to
Bootlegs is doing, right?
do what?
Kind of like what Bootlegs did to Quadir's channel, right?
Pretty much, yeah. Bootlegs.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
what Bootlegs is doing, you know, I don't have anything against that, but I hope that Bootlegs does know this. That lady does know that despite, how do I phrase this? You know how I mentioned that whenever you delete a video from YouTube and it's no longer your content, or you don't own the rights to that, and if somebody else clips it, then they do.
Hmm.
So let's say that Quadir didn't actually delete it and he does go to court.
Hmm.
She could be put in a position of that because that's technically his content.
Yeah.
What copyright disclaimer section 107, and I'm not going to repeat the entire thing, what that states is that you can use the comment for commentary. What
Yeah.
Bootlegs is doing is not commentary. It's what's the terminology what people
Is
use?
it piracy? I think piracy.
pirating, but it's called stream snatching or stream striking or something like that. Stream striking. It's basically whenever another creator is going live, you go live on your platform and then share their live stream on your platform, so you steal their viewership. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's what she's doing or but those are older videos that she's deleting, so it shouldn't matter.
Yeah. And it's interesting you said that because a lot of remember the Dolan twins when they went off YouTube?
The Dolan twin? I heard
Dolan
about them. Yeah.
Yeah, when they went off YouTube. What you say?
Oh no, what about them?
Oh, yeah, when they went off YouTube, there was this other channel, I think it was called Dolan Twins Restorations, I think it's called. They had started doing the same thing as bootlegs, but they only did like 10 of their videos and then they left YouTube. But yeah, it was the same thing, very similar, but not as many, you know. Not like as excessive as
I think people I think that people they call it stream striking or snatching or stream. It's basically pirating another creator's content. The entire thing, not giving commentary, not stopping it periodically, or adding edits or your own touches to it, but literally just re-uploading the shit. Kind of like what people do on Twitch to YouTube videos.
Yeah.
And I've questioned whether that's happening to my channel because you can go over to Twitch and this Twitcher, I don't know what they call each other on Twitch, this Twitcher would get hundreds of people, like 500 people in the live stream, and they would just be sitting there, not saying anything, just sharing your shit, and people's donating and sending money to them. So,
I know. Actually, I'm gonna piggyback off that for a minute.
I don't see how that's legal.
I know Andrew Tate. Actually, I think he used to have his YouTube channel, and he used to actually pay content creators on YouTube to pirate his content on their own channels. He used to pay money for them to do that. Him and Hassan Piker too.
Yeah, that's against TOS. Yeah, that's against TOS.
They used to actually pay creators to take their content and put it on their channel. Like he used to pay money.
Now, if
like
the creator, yeah, like what you're saying, if he used to pay money to them, and if they have his permission, then that's a different story. But
yeah,
that's free advertisement for you.
Because I know Hassan Piker did that, and I know Andrew Tate did it, and I think there's one more channel who did that too. I think, but I forget their name. I think it's Aiden Ross.
I can name. The main one that I've seen do that was Classics, which is now debunked, and then bootlegs. You know,
say it again.
Just the entire live stream and not add. I said the only channels that I've ever seen like stream swipe would be Classics, which they're gone, and then bootlegs. So take the entire live stream, not do anything to it, don't edit it. You know, there's creators on here that will threaten. What they will do is they will hit you with a copyright DSM strike, right? And it's falsely reporting it because, well, it does fall under the copyright disclaimer section 107. You're adding commentary to it. You are allowed to comment on other people. If you put yourself out on a public platform such as YouTube, you cannot get mad when people are going to have negative things to say about you because it's going to happen. And anybody that's stupid enough to go to a lawyer and say, oh, I don't like what people are saying about me on YouTube, I want to sue them, the lawyer's going to laugh in your fucking face.
Exactly.
First of all, you know how much money it takes to sue somebody for defamation? You have to prove that it has impacted your career in a negative way. It affected your way of making money.
Defamation is the hardest thing to prove in court, too, they say.
Yeah, it is. And what these, you know, but they don't do it because of that. They do it because they want to find out a person's address. That's why they do it. Because what happens when you submit, their address and phone numbers. So when YouTube, and if they counteract it, and dispute it, then you can release your personal information. Your personal information gets released to the person striking, but the person
Mhm.
striking, their personal information is not released. You see how it's unfair?
Yeah, of course, of course.
And I was listening to this lawyer last night, and I'm not kidding you. You know, go over and check out his channel. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but he charges people for less than $2 to dispute anybody that's had a copyright strike by one of these creators that's trying to get your personal information so they can dox you. That's what the ultimate goal is. They want to dox you. They want to get your personal information, because if you dispute it, you have to release it. So what happens is it goes to his law office in California. They get that information. And then from there, if they choose to move forward with the copyright strike, then legal action will be taken.
Oh, okay.
But the majority of these people, like I said, yeah, like they don't really care about people using their content. They want to dox.
Yeah, yeah. It is like YouTube to me. It's
It's
it's not as big of a presence online as YouTube used to be, but I think the people, the creators that are still left on here, I think they're still holding on to those glory days, so to speak. And I think that's why they're still trying to do all that. It's to save the reputation that they used to have, you know.
well, some of these people, I can't, I don't know who you're referring to, but I'm going to refer to some individuals in the true crime. You know, these people, maybe they've been around since 2017, 2018, but they didn't go popular until they started talking about all these crime cases. You know, claiming to be victims
That's an
advocates,
interesting
child
point.
advocates for child cases. Do what?
That's an interesting point. Actually, I don't know a lot about true crime off the top of my head. I just I watch a lot of true crime, but I'm not the kind of person where like I can tell you off the top of my head like enough about it. I just like to watch it casually, like in my free time. It's interesting to me though.
There's, maybe I should specify the true crime community of YouTube. Not every
I know,
creator
I know.
is like what I just mentioned, but you know, it's trauma drama. That's what it is. It's the
Yeah.
drama that comes with these true crime cases. You get people that
Hmm.
implement themselves, the neighbor, you know, and then you get the creators that want to interview these people and get close to these people that are witnesses to a crime or get close to the suspects in a crime, as we've
Yep.
seen in some of these cases.
And they
And you
don't know what
you
they're
know, whenever
talking about
you,
either.
yeah, yeah, and you know,
Yeah.
there's one right now. I'm not going to mention any names, but they're endorsing, in my opinion, Dawn and Candace Wells are suspects. As Ronnie Lawson has said before, everybody is a suspect. In my eyes, those are the two main suspects.
In the
Her,
Summer Wall case,
Dawn,
right?
yeah, the Summer Wells case, the grandma, the
Hmm.
mom, really the grandma and the mom, because they were the last people to see Summer Wells alive that day. Dawn was allegedly at work. There's it's crazy, and you when that happens, they make themselves vulnerable, because what if it turns out these people are guilty and you're claiming that they're innocent? You're so
Right.
fixated on, no, they're innocent, I don't think they did this, which maybe they didn't, but we don't know that. But what if something comes down later down the line where, oh wait, I was supporting these alleged unalivers of a child?
And I'm gonna say this: the same thing has happened to me, like about the false accusations, because very quickly, my mom actually, as retaliation for whatever, I don't know, but she falsely accused me of PED. Yeah, we're going here.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, she's falsely accused me of that and was like openly telling people we know and like in public, like in the street, like openly conversing. I'm thinking to myself,
You know that's
Like, are
defamation.
you? Huh?
You know that's defamation.
Of course. Oh yeah, of course. It's
Even if
very
it's your
obvious it's
mom, that's
defamation.
defamation.
Hmm?
I said, even if that's your mom, that's defamation. Is it? Am I hard to
Yeah.
hear? Is there an echo or some type of weird sound?
There was like the stream on your side. The stream kind of lagged out a couple minutes ago, but you're fine. You're fine now.
Oh, okay. I just want to be sure that you guys can hear me and I'm not echoing or I don't sound, funny. Because my microphone, StreamYard likes to fuck with everybody.
So true. Zoom too. Zoom does the same thing.
The last time I used Zoom was whenever I was a Walmart manager and we had to attend these virtual meetings each week. And this was at the time, after COVID hit. So everything was virtual. But yeah, that's the last time I used Zoom.
Oh wow, that's cool. But yeah, so my mom, she tried to start a smear campaign because I guess she didn't want me holding her accountable for, me knowing she has lied on me for my whole life, and she started a whole thing to make me. I guess it's called alienation, where a parent tries to tell the child that the other parent is wrong or crazy, whatever. That's what she was doing. So, you know, in order because I know I'm the only person who knows how she truly is, I guess her way of discarding me, I guess, was lying about me, saying to people that I'm a PEDO.
Now, what age were you when she started telling people this?
Let me see. I was 21, 22.
Okay, so still like young adult, and
Yeah,
you were grown. Like,
yeah,
and she was already telling people. See, the thing about that, when abusive people cannot control you anymore, guess what they do? They control how others perceive you.
exactly. It's the smear campaign. Yep.
Mhm. Narcissistic smear campaign. And then the
And
flying
really,
monkeys go
actually,
along
you
with
know
it.
how you said Quadir is malignant?
Yeah, I believe that he's on the malignant end of narcissism. Yeah.
Let me tell you, my mom and my cousin, who used to live with us before he moved, because he moved down south 6 months ago. But he's getting his karma too, because he's malignant too. By the way, anyway, because he was abusatory too, but that's a whole other thing. But yeah, basically, my mom and my cousin are both malignant darks. So trust me, I know.
It's crazy.
Like if you look into the Gypsy Rose Blanchard case, that is very similar to, but not exactly the same as me and my mom's situation. Like me and my family, it's very similar, but not exactly the same. Because
What happened?
because Gypsy Rose's family, her family was a tad bit more. What's the word? I don't want to say crazy. That's rude, but they were a tad bit more psychopathic, I'll say, than my mom was. You know, because I remember she said, on one of the interviews, she said when she tried to escape her family, her mom, when she got back home, she said her mom had like restrained her to the bed where she couldn't get out of bed because her mom had like put some kind of like handcuffs on both sides of the bed.
Oh
So
my
I'm
god.
like, ugh. Yeah, her name is Gypsy Rose Blanchard. She actually killed her mom because her mom had Munchausen's, and she actually killed her mom. And her and her boyfriend are. I know her boyfriend's in jail, but I forget his sentence, but he's doing I think 10 years because she murdered her mom. Her mom was a Munchausen.
So do you think that she did it because she was abused for that long and it was just
Yeah,
something?
I think she even said like she had no way to go, no contact, and she had no way to leave. And she had because I remember the case at the time was she was gonna go to Wisconsin with her boyfriend because I think she's from Missouri, somewhere in the Midwest. She's from I know that, but I think she's from Missouri. So I think her and her boyfriend had made a plan to go to Wisconsin, and I think either they couldn't leave, like they were gonna go there the day of, or They got there and they had to go back to Missouri, I think, for whatever reason. And that was the day that her mom,
Mm.
yeah. So
I'm gonna have
since
to
that
look into
day, I
that.
think it was like 10, 13 years ago, I think she's done her prison sentence. And actually, she was on Dr. Phil too. Dr.
What
Phil
was her
interviewed her
first
about
name?
it. Gypsy, Gypsy. Her name is
Gyp
Gypsy Rose Blanchard.
Rose Blanchard. Yep, first thing that popped up on Google.
Yep, that's her. And that was like the first Munchausen case that, at least in our lifetime that I know of, like that was like a big deal. That kind of was hit the glass ceiling for all the Munchausen cases that I've heard of over the
Now,
years.
how do you spell Munchausen? I want to put that
It
in the
is
chat.
Munchausen.
You said AU?
Yes.
Okay.
So CHAUSEN.
Munchausen syndrome.
I think in me and Juicy's case, it was by proxy. So Munchausen syndrome by proxy, it's called. Because by proxy is when the parent does it to their child, I think. So Munchausen syndrome, the regular type, is just when the person does it to themselves. And then their child is like their caregiver. So that's the regular Munchausen syndrome. That's the server's version. Pretty
And by
much.
proxy means that it's done, well, they do it to their children.
Yes.
Wow. I'm going to have to research that. You're telling me a lot of new information.
Yep.
We may be
And
discussing.
it's something that it's one of like the most not talked about enough, I guess you could say, forms of psychopathy, because it is technically a form of psychopathy where it's just not considered like among the normal kind of psychopathy, but it is. And typically they don't actually know how many cases of MSBP are like actually happen every year because there aren't many people report it. So they're still trying to get people to talk about it and report it so that they can have a clear statistic on the number of cases every year.
Well, that may be something that we're going to discuss in the future.
Yeah.
Well, Jamie, I want to thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for the time spent on the panel. I'm going to go ahead and let you go. I have to go do a few things before I start this next stream. But yeah, it was very interesting hearing your story, your experiences, and once again, if you have anything else to say, you know where I'm at.
Of course. And yeah, definitely keep in touch. And I love talking to you. You're very, very nice. So
Well, I
hopefully
appreciate
we can,
that.
yeah.
I wish more people would come up on panel. I wish people would, open up, loosen up a little bit, come up on here.
Yeah.
Just talk about whatever you wanted to, guys. You see what we did tonight. But I don't know. I guess my voice kind of intimidates people or I come across the wrong way. People's like, I'm not going up on this crazy guy's channel. Are you kidding me?
No, you're a sweetheart. And I think I told you when I first emailed you, I said I had been watching you for like 5 to 7 months already. So I already had a clear kind of perception of you already,
And that's why I felt comfortable with, letting you up here because I see your name in the chat and you pop in the chat a lot, but it's up until recently you came up here on panel. But
And even before when we first started talking, notice how I was, cameraless, faceless. But I guess something just came over. I was like, you know what? Why not? Right? I just wanted to let it all hang out today, I guess.
yeah. Well, I'm going to go ahead and let you go. You have a good rest of your night. And if you're still awake, tune into the next live stream. We're going to do an Ask Bandit.
Oh, I'll try to.
You have a good night, Jamie.
Oh, one more thing. I have some recommendations on tarot readings you could do.
Oh yeah, go ahead. I'm always open towards doing tarot readings. Any suggestions? Drop
Let me
them
see.
in the
Let me see.
comments.
Let me see. There
People
were a couple people I
else
had
got
in
it.
mind. Who did I have in mind? Let me see. You could try to do one on who was I had a couple people in mind. Maybe you could do one on Andrew Tate. That would be interesting because I followed that case. That is a case I know very well. Maybe to try to see about his case and if he'll get out, or because some people are saying like he has lung cancer and that there's titles on YouTube about
Oh
he
really?
might die in prison. I'm like, what? Is that true?
I haven't heard about that. He allegedly has lung cancer.
Yeah, he was recently diagnosed with lung cancer because
I didn't hear
if,
about that.
if you look on a lot of his videos, because most of his CRIMES are on YouTube from his little fake hustlers university courses he used to give to the young kids, and he used to brainwash their heads with that stuff. Anyway, but on his YouTube channel, aside from Hustlers University, which is his website, on his YouTube channel though, he used to come on camera and he would smoke a cigar, and like every single stream, he would smoke a cigar.
Well,
So when he was diagnosed with lung cancer, I'm like, that does not surprise me at all. That doesn't
I
surprise me.
mean, you don't smoke cigars. You taste. I've always tasted cigars. I don't smoke cigars. I don't
Yeah,
actually inhale. Well, sometimes I lie. Sometimes, but I don't strictly smoke cigars. I don't smoke cigarettes. I haven't for the past 4 years, but I vape.
Ooh,
But no, I didn't know about
congratulations.
Andrew Tate. I'm gonna have to do a reading on him. I'll look more into him.
Yeah, and then also I would love for you to do a reading on. Let me see. There were a couple people I wanted you to read on. I think I'm a Zary too, so I love your Harry Styles readings. I'm a Zary. Uh, and it will be kind of interesting if Harry and Zayn actually were together, but I don't know.
It would. And can I say, I'm glad that you brought that up. I want to mention this before you get off here, and then I'm going to have to go because I have to get my clothes out of the washer and put them in the dryer and start folding them. But for the people, not you, Jamie, but some people, they get pissy because I place some members behind paywalls, some of my videos behind paywalls. You have to be a member to view some type of content. That is because in the past, people have been ungrateful. They don't like the video, they don't comment, but they ask me to do the video. Now, that content's free. A like is free. All you have to do is like the video. All you have to do is like the video. But if the video gets 200 likes, well, I'm sorry, 200 views, but only one like, that's a problem. Especially when people ask me to do that video, right?
Yeah,
So I'm like, if I'm just going to record it and place it on members only, and the people that's paying for it, that's for them.
yeah, and you're taking time out of your day to do all that, like 6, 7 hour live streams and stuff
Yeah,
too.
and they're asking me, they come over here all the time, can you do a weekend reading? Can you read on Simi Kahar, Harry Styles, Justin Bieber? And the same people, whenever I do live stream readings and I know they're online, they're nowhere to be found. Or if they are, they don't say anything. They just watch the video.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, I remember some more people, right? Do a reading on there's a YouTuber Sloan, Sloan.
oh, I know him. Yes,
He
I'm
did a
familiar with Sloan.
video, huh?
I'm familiar with Sloan.
He did a video where he basically, long story short, he lied about Nick Carter harassing him, like threatening him. He
See,
was
I
saying
haven't
like,
watched Sloan in 1 year. What's been going on with him and Nick Carter? I know Nick Carter passed away.
no, that was his brother Aaron. That was Aaron Carter.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But yeah, so Nick, he basically lied about Nick Carter saying like, once again, smear campaign. saying that Nick is coming after me. He's him and his wife are sending me and my dad threatening text messages. Like they were talking about how he filed a police report, but the police report I think they said the timeline didn't add up because if you look it up, Post ID Media did a video about it. It was a great video. She actually found out because she interviewed the guy. There was this hacker guy, I think in another country. I want to say it's Australia somewhere, who was the person that what would be a word? I guess they sent the text messages, but as the hacker, it wasn't Nick Carter. So basically, Sloan thought it was a hacker, and next thing you know, social media is taking that and running with it, and But
Well, you know that Sloan, this is not the first time that he's been sent. He's in the off. Did you follow him with the Britney Spears situation? Did you watch Sloan and his videos on that?
yeah, but vaguely. I remember he had said before that he's had several lawsuits and stuff.
Yes, he did. And, one of them was from Lou not. Let me be careful. What is her name? Ann Taylor.
Yeah, Lou Ann
Taylor.
Taylor. Yep.
Yeah. Lou Ann Taylor, which was behind Britney Spears' conservatorship. She sent him a cease and desist, and a lot of other people, not only from the Britney Spears situation, but he's been back and forth with this type of stuff for years. So it wouldn't
And
be surprising.
he even said Dan Schneider from Nickelodeon filed a suit against him too.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And you have to question, I mean, eventually, why are all these people filing lawsuits? What are you doing? There's a common denominator.
Yeah, and it would be interesting, if you could do a tearing to see, like, if, across his whole career, like, has he been truthful? Is he maybe a narc? Is he, like, where his head is? Because I read that article saying, like, there was this person who did an article about Sloan, basically saying that he also mentioned that he was SA'd by his father, which I was like, I don't remember him saying that.
No, I'm not going to speak on that. I'm not going to speak on that.
Well, no, I'm just saying about, maybe that is where the lies come from. Maybe I'm just,
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly.
Well, I have to look into that, but I'm seriously going to have to do it, Jamie. I have to do some things.
Yeah, so just try to remember to do Sloan, and who was the other person I said? Somebody else too. I said.
You said who I know who it was. Andrew Hill.
Oh yeah, Andrew Tate and Sloan.
Andrew Tate. Yeah. All righty.
Oh, and one last person I know. To Hassan Piker, because I would love to see where his headspace is too, just like Sloan. Like, does he really believe the things he says? Is he, kind of unhinged? Because there's people who like say that they stopped supporting Hassan because he's kind of unhinged and like misogynistic. So I don't know. It'll be really
interesting. Can you send me an email with these people? Yeah, send me. Yeah. I'm not going to forget about it.
Okay.
All righty. You have a good rest of your night, and I'm going to let you go.
Okay.
All right.
It was nice talking to you.
Bye, Jamie. Have a good night.
You too. Bye.
All righty, guys. Thank you, everyone that is tuned in to this interview with Jamie. I hope that you guys got something from it. Anybody that came across it got inspired by the stories that we're telling tonight. I know that we were all over the place. We were just very casual, but that's how we roll over here. If you want to be interviewed, or if you have a topic that you want discussed on this platform, what do you have to say? Email seraphicpathways@yahoo.com. That is SERAPHICPATHWAYS. Make your voice heard. If you have a question, you can use the hashtag AskBandit on Twitter for my insight and advice. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, even for the people watching on the replay. and I will catch you on the next round. Thank you for watching.